Chapter 667. The messenger of the Qianyuan sacred ground is here to see the moon monarch of the Yu clan under the orders of the Qin emperor. Outside the Yu clan's territory, Xia Kun said loudly. Soon, a Yu clan powerhouse appeared. His voice was as gentle as the spring rain. Do you have proof? This is the token of the Qianyuan sacred ground. As soon as he finished speaking, the token flew out. The Yu clan powerhouse stretched out his jade-like hand to catch the token and then checked it carefully. Xia Kun, who was standing on the side, couldn't help but look at the other party. It said that the Yu clan is beautiful. Now that I see it, it's true. Tianwen Island had the complete inheritance of the human race. But this inheritance, not only did it have the inheritance of the human race's ancient history, but it also had the knowledge of other races. Xia Kun often followed Xia Chao. Under the influence of what he saw and heard, he knew a lot of things. Among them, he had heard about the Yu clan. In ancient times, the Yu clan was also a large clan. The creatures of the Yu clan, regardless of whether they were men or women, were exceptionally handsome. The former moon monarch was known as the #1 beauty in the world and was expected to become the empress of the heavenly court. Unfortunately, for some reason, the ancient moon monarch did not become the empress in the end. Xia Kun looked at the Yu clan powerhouse in front of him, his thoughts running wild. At the same time, after the Yu clan powerhouse carefully checked the token, he politely returned it. Please follow me inside and wait for a while. I need to send a message to the moon monarch to give an accurate answer. It's okay. Xia Kun put away the token and then nodded. Then, he followed behind the Yu clan powerhouse and officially stepped into the Yu clan's territory. Just like the other territories, in the Yu clan's territory, there were also cultivators of other races. And because the Yu clan had always been neutral, the cultivators in their territory were much more numerous than in the territories of other races. Of course, it was hard to say whether this was simply because the Yu clan was neutral or because the Yu clan was handsome and beautiful. Walking in the Yu clan's territory, Xia Kun also saw many strange cultivators along the way. There are many mutants in the aristocratic territories. Mutants are all over the 4 continents. I've heard of many mutants in the East continent. That's true. Xia Kun nodded. He didn't know much about mutants. In the past, when he was in Heavenly Rune Island, there were no mutants. It was only after they left the Dead Sea region and entered the Eastern continent that they gradually came into contact with the mystical race known as the mutants. Undying and indestructible. Apart from having mediocre strength, they were no different from demons. Xia Kun sometimes thought about it. Could the variant humans have something to do with the demon abyss? However, he didn't pay too much attention to these things. This was because there were many mutants in the Eastern continent, and the mutants in the other 3 continents were also very weak. Don't be fooled by the sheer number of inhumans and the fact that they couldn't be killed no matter how hard you tried. But that was the main problem. The mutants did not have a top-notch powerhouse who could suppress an entire race. Now, each race had a ruler who was at the 10th level of the celestial being realm. Powerful forces even had existences at the true immortal realm to suppress them. In humans, just like rootless duckweed, there was no one who could stand on their own. Such a race could be said to be very strong. It could also be said that he was very weak. Suppressing the mutants was not a difficult thing to do. This was because even though the inhumans wouldn't truly die, they would still die. However, every time he was killed and revived, he would drop by a realm. As long as he kept the mutants suppressed, it would be difficult for them to cause any big waves. Apart from that, there was an even more important point. They couldn't kill the mutants, and the mutants couldn't kill them either. Although Xia Kun had never really been killed by the mutants, he had heard about it from others. It was also because of this reason. He wasn't very afraid of the mutants. After entering the City Lord's mansion of the Moon Clan, not long after he sat down, the Moon Clan powerhouse suddenly stood up and looked at Xia Kun. Esteemed envoy, my emperor has sent a message to invite you to our secret realm. Thank you for your trouble. Xia Kun put down the teacup in his hand and stood up. Then, the Moon Clan powerhouse opened the entrance to the secret realm. The originally calm sky seemed to have suddenly cracked open, causing the space to tremble slightly. Such a change. It only made the other cultivators in the Moon Clan's territory look up and then look away. The Moon Clan's secret realm would often open. This was not a strange thing. Following behind the Moon Clan powerhouse and entering the secret realm, Xiaokun realized that this place was completely different from the outside world. If the outside world was daytime, then the Moon Clan's secret realm was nighttime. However, nighttime did not mean darkness. In the sky above the Moon Clan's secret realm, there was a bright moon hanging. The moonlight poured over the entire secret realm, as if a mysterious power appeared from within. Moon. The Moon Clan's secret realm actually has moon. This time, Xiaokun was really shocked. As far as he knew, the moon and sun were the most powerful existences among the stars in the sky. But soon, Xiaokun reacted again. If the moon in the Moon Clan's secret realm was moon, then what was the moon outside? Seeing Xiaokun's shocked expression, the Moon Clan powerhouse smiled and explained, "This is not the true moon. It is said that when the ancient moon emperor of our Moon Clan died, the moon transformed into a bright moon. This moon shines on the ancient times and is the true inheritance of our Moon Clan." The ancient moon emperor transformed. Xiaokun took a deep breath, and the way he looked at the bright moon in the sky had completely changed. The ancient moon emperor. That was a true top powerhouse. According to his ancestor, among the ancient emperors, the Moon Emperor was considered one of the strongest. After all, he was able to almost become the Empress of Heaven. Damn it! Not only was his appearance a big factor, but his strength was also a big factor. In this way, the moon formed by the ancient Moon Emperor's death was definitely not something simple. The Moon Clan had such a supreme treasure, so they were probably extremely powerful. However, the Moon Clan had always been low-key and neutral. If not for their good looks, they would not be too famous in the 4 continents. As expected, there are not many races that have survived from the ancient times that are simple. Xiaokun thought to himself. He even suspected that the Moon Clan had an ancient true immortal sealed in the seal. This was not impossible. When Emperor Zhao attained Tao, all the true immortals of the various races took action, but the Moon Clan was not included. Although the Moon Emperor succeeded in attaining Tao in the end, he did not see the true immortal of the Moon Clan break out of the seal. Now that he thought about it, the Moon Clan had hidden themselves very deeply. He had some thoughts in his mind. Xiaokun did not really reveal it. He followed the Moon Clan powerhouse and walked towards the main hall of the Moon Clan. The main hall of the Moon Clan. It was located in the center of the entire Moon Clan's secret realm and also the center of the moonlight. It was bathed in moonlight all year round, causing the main hall to be filled with a mysterious aura. The Moon Emperor is in the Moon God Hall. Please come with me. The Moon Clan powerhouse said lightly and took the lead to enter the Moon God Hall. Xiaokun followed behind. The Moon God Hall. He silently repeated this name in his mind. He was sure. This Moon God Hall must be a terrifying supreme treasure. After all, it had been bathed in the light of the ancient Moon Emperor for many years. Even an ordinary object should have spirituality, not to mention an ancient clan like the Moon Clan. How could they not have any foundation? But Xiaokun was not sure. Was the Moon Clan's Moon God Palace a Tao artifact or an ancestral armament? After all, except for the Eastern continent, Tao artifacts of all races were almost extinct. This was a fact. As for Zubing, except for the Human Clan and the Demon Clan, the other races did not have one on the surface. Of course. Perhaps some race had such a treasure hidden in secret and refused to take it out all this time. Entering the Moon God Hall, Xiaokun seemed to have entered another world. A faintly discernible pressure came from all directions. Inside the hall, on the main seat at the top, a person whose figure was covered by a dense light sat there. As soon as Xiaokun saw that person, he already knew the identity of the other party. The messenger of the Qianyuan sacred ground of the Human Clan greets the Moon Emperor. Ben Huang felt the bloodline of the ancient Emperor Xia in you. Are you a descendant of the ancient Emperor Xia? The Moon Emperor slowly spoke from the main seat. His voice was cold, as if he was untainted by the mortal world. Hearing this, Xiaokun's expression did not change. He cupped his hands and said, "The Moon Emperor is wise. I am indeed a descendant of the ancient Emperor Xia." The ancient Emperor Xia was a hero of his generation. If it were not for the Emperor of Heaven, no one would have been able to stop him. You are a descendant of the ancient Emperor Xia, and your status is also noble. You don't have to be too cautious. The Moon Emperor's voice softened a little. I wonder why the Qin Emperor asked you to come here this time? Xia Kun did not beat around the bush. He said directly, the Qin Emperor will hold a meeting in the east city of the human territory in 3 months to discuss the opening of the 10,000 tribes battlefield. I hope the Moon Emperor can come on time. 10,000 tribes battlefield? The dense light shook a little. The Moon Emperor's voice also changed a little. What is the 10,000 tribes battlefield? I'm just a messenger. I don't know the details. Well, Bin Huang already knows about it. He will definitely be there in 3 months. The Moon Emperor did not force him. His voice gradually returned to normal. Just as Xia Kun was about to leave, the Moon Palace shook a little. The surrounding pressure also became a little stronger. Xia Kun's expression changed slightly. He did not know what had happened. At this moment, on the main seat, the Moon Emperor spoke again. A while ago, the sky-breaking halberd appeared. The Zubing was the divine weapon of the ancient, immortal master Haozong. I wonder if the sky-breaking halberd reacted because of the reincarnation of immortal master Haozong? I don't know what the Moon Emperor is talking about. Xia Kun shook his head and said. After saying that, the atmosphere in the main hall fell into silence. There was clearly nothing in the main hall, but danger lurked in every direction in an instant. After a while, the Moon Emperor's cold voice came again. The surrounding pressure also disappeared instantly. In that case, please go back. I'll take my leave. Xia Kun cupped his hands and then left the Moon Palace under the lead of the other Moon Clan members. After leaving the Moon Clan's territory, only then did he realize that his back was already soaked in sweat. Is the Moon Clan related to immortal Master Haozong? Xia Kun looked back at the Moon Clan's territory with deep fear in his eyes. However, although he had doubts in his heart, he did not dare to go back and ask. After all, Xia Kun was just a small heaven realm cultivator. In front of the Moon Emperor, who had already proven her Tao, he was not even an ant. But there was one thing. He was sure of one thing. There was definitely a big secret in the Moon Clan. No, I have to go back and report this to the Qin Emperor. But I have to wait until the rest of them are notified. Xia Kun shook his head and immediately left. He did not fly. Unlike the Eastern continent, the other 3 continents had a large number of experts. A cultivator at the first level of the heaven realm flying in the sky would inevitably cause a lot of trouble. If he accidentally stepped over the head of a certain expert, he might die on the spot. It could be said that, in the Eastern continent, those who could break through to the heaven realm were superior. In the other 3 continents, those who broke through to the heaven realm were not qualified to run rampant. Only those who had reached the saint realm were qualified to shake. Those who were truly in charge had a certain amount of decision-making power. Only those who were at the 7th level of the heaven realm and above could do that. Not long after leaving the Moon Clan, Xia Kun came to the territory of the next force, the Star Clan. At the same time, in the Moon Palace, after Xia Kun left, the Moon Emperor did not do anything. In the empty main hall, a cold echo sounded. The ancient Emperor Xia has fallen for millions of years. After so many years of reproduction, the human clan should not have such a strong bloodline of Emperor Xia remaining. Why is the bloodline in his body so strong? Could it be that the ancient Emperor Xia of the human clan left some backup plan? The Moon Emperor seemed to be talking to himself, or he seemed to be asking the others. However, Emperor Xia was the strongest human emperor in the ancient times. It is not surprising that he left some backup plan. After all, the human clan has struggled for millions of years. It is impossible to say that they have no backup plan. It's just that Bin Huang is really curious about how many secrets the human clan is hiding. During the Great Tribulation of the Demonic Abyss, Haozong had already fallen in the Demonic Abyss. The sky-breaking halberd should also be in the Demonic Abyss. It must have been attracted by something to suddenly come back at this time. If I'm not wrong, Haozong should have been reincarnated successfully. Since the bloodline of Emperor Xia has appeared and Haozong has reincarnated, the human clan, gradually, the voices in the Moon Palace had fallen silent. The Moon Emperor's figure had completely disappeared at some point. The order of the Qianyuan sacred ground spread. Most of the clans had received the message from the messenger of the Qianyuan sacred ground. Also because the meeting of the 10,000 clans and the 10,000 clans battlefield had also spread. Many cultivators were speculating what exactly was the 10,000 clans battlefield. But more cultivators were speculating about the purpose of the human clan's establishment of the 10,000 clans battlefield. These things, it had caused a great commotion in the other 3 continents. Even the East continent had been affected a lot. However, these things had little to do with Qin Shujian. After breaking through to the 8th tier of the celestial being realm, his strength had steadily risen to the 2nd tier of the true immortal realm. If he were to use his ancestral armament, even the Zhao Emperor might not be a match for him. The premise was, Emperor Zhao did not have Zhu Bing. So, with his strength skyrocketing, Qin Shujian also had the mentality of sitting on the fishing boat. He had an indifferent attitude towards the movements caused by the 4 continents and silently watched the situation. Emperor Qin, Xia Kun requests an audience. In the courtyard, Su Yuanming walked in. Let him come in, Qin Shujian said casually. Xia Kun suddenly came at this time. There must be something important. He calculated the time. Xia Kun had gone to the clans in the South Continent. It was about time. Not long after, Xia Kun walked in from outside and then cupped his hands. Emperor Qin, Elder Xia, what's the matter? Emperor Qin, I was ordered to go to the Moon Clan this time and found something. I'm worried about the Moon Clan, so I came to inform you. The Moon Clan? Qin Shujian's hand that was drinking tea paused slightly. Then he put down the teacup and his gaze fell on Xia Kun. Soon, Xia Kun told him everything he had seen and heard about the Moon Clan. After a while, Qin Shujian recovered from his thoughts and looked at Xia Kun, who was still standing there. He said, Bin Huang already knows about this. Elder Xia, you came back from the South Continent. It's a long journey. You should rest first. Then I'll take my leave first, Xia Kun replied respectfully. Wait a minute. Just as he was about to leave, Qin Shujian suddenly called out to him. Then, a jade bottle appeared out of thin air and landed in front of Xia Kun. There's a drop of flood dragon blood essence of the 10th level of the celestial being realm in the jade bottle. You're now at the 1st level of the celestial being realm. It's time to refine your body. Thank you, Emperor Qin. Xia Kun held the jade bottle and then bowed. His eyes were full of excitement. Flood dragon blood essence of the 10th level of the celestial being realm. This was a rare treasure. Cultivators at the extraordinary stage mainly focused on tempering their physique, allowing their essence, energy, and spirit to perfectly fuse together. At this moment, they needed a strong body to perfectly accommodate these things. Flood dragon blood essence. It was a treasure that could refine the body. Flood dragon blood essence of the 10th level of the celestial being realm was a treasure among treasures. With this thing, Xia Kun was confident that he could break through to the 2nd level of the celestial being realm. After Xia Kun left, Qin Shujian wanted to ask the Godslayer, but suddenly found that it was not necessary. He simply went to the Shao Mansion to have a good chat with Shao Chengfeng. The Shao Mansion. Now, a vision of heaven and earth appeared. After Qin Shujian walked into the Shao Mansion, no one in the Shao Mansion noticed. Only Shao Chengfeng knew, listening to the sound in his ear. Qin Shujian smiled and turned. The next moment, he appeared in a small pavilion. Emperor Qin, I didn't welcome you from afar. Sorry for my impoliteness. Next time when Bin Huang comes, send someone to inform him in advance so that Brother Shao can welcome him. Qin Shujian smiled and sat down in front of Shao Chengfeng. To this, Shao Chengfeng could only laugh it off. There's a cultivator in the Shao Mansion who is breaking through to the celestial being realm. Who is it? Emperor Qin. You should be familiar with this person. Shao Chengfeng poured a cup of spirit tea for Qin Shujian and said with a smile. Su Mingyang? Qin Shujian only sensed a little and knew who was breaking through. Speaking of which, he was indeed familiar with Su Mingyang. Well, they used to be familiar. Shao Chengfeng said, among the 4, Su Mingyang's talent is the best. I taught him the 12 profound gates Zhou Tian technique, and he was the fastest to succeed. It's normal for him to break through to the celestial being realm now. The 12 profound gates Zhou Tian technique? Qin Shu Jian raised his eyebrows. The name of this technique was quite loud. It's normal that you don't know about it. It's just that a technique from the ancient times can't be compared to the supreme technique that you're cultivating now. Xiao Chengfeng smiled meaningfully. In his opinion, the inheritance that Qin Shujian had received must have come from a powerful background. There was nothing that he didn't know about the ancient times. However, Xiao Chengfeng realized that he couldn't see through the inheritance of this Emperor Qin. As such, there was only one explanation for this. The inheritance came from the ancient times. In the ancient times, the heaven and earth had just been born. There were too many experts and supreme techniques that were born from the heaven and earth. If one could successfully cultivate it, he would definitely be able to imprint it in the heaven and earth. Xiao Chengfeng was a little emotional. Then, he changed the topic and said, Emperor Qin, why are you here today? There's something that Bin Huang would like to know. What is it? Brother Xiao, do you know anything about the Moon Clan? Qin Shujian went straight to the point. The Moon Clan? Xiao Chengfeng was slightly shocked, but he recovered quickly. He pondered for a while. Then he said slowly, the Moon Clan existed when the heaven and earth were born. It was said that when the moon shone on the earth for the first time, that ray of moonlight gave birth to intelligence and gave birth to the clan. Because it was related to the moon, the talent of the Moon Clan was also extremely powerful. They had given birth to powerful cultivators for generations. Even in the great calamity of the ancient times, the Moon Clan didn't suffer much loss. In the beginning of the ancient times, when the clans were declining, the Moon Clan was the top clan. Xiao Chengfeng took a sip of the spiritual tea and continued. In the end of the ancient times, the Moon Clan was also a big clan. It could be said that the Moon Clan had a very deep and stable foundation. Don't think that the Human Clan and the Demon Clan are very powerful now. The two clans might not be much stronger than the Moon Clan. From Xiao Chengfeng's words, one could tell that his evaluation of the Moon Clan was very high. Not every clan was qualified to be compared to the Human Clan and the Demon Clan. The Demon Clan was the most glorious clan in the ancient times. The Human Clan was the most glorious clan in the ancient times. No other clan could be compared to them. These two clans, all of them had once left behind a heavy mark in an era. It could even be said that these two clans had ended an era. The ancient demon emperor had ended the ancient times. The emperor of heaven of the heavenly court had ended the ancient times with one slash. The Moon Clan was comparable to the two clans. It was really not simple. Thinking of this, Qin Shujian suddenly said, if that's the case, isn't the Star Clan's foundation also very deep? In the ancient times, the Star Clan was indeed very powerful. However, the ancient calamity caused the Star Clan to suffer heavy losses. They hadn't fully recovered in the ancient times. Even if they had recovered a little, it was only on the surface. Those ancient foundations had long been used up. They couldn't be compared to the Moon Clan. Xiao Chengfeng shook his head and said, among the Sun, Moon, and Star Clans, the Moon Clan was the best. The Sun Clan had already been destroyed in the ancient times and no longer existed. However, the one who really made the Moon Clan strong was the last Moon Emperor of the ancient times. Speaking of the ancient Moon Emperor, Xiao Chengfeng's expression was a little strange. Seeing the change in his expression, Qin Shujian immediately realized what was going on. There was a story. Speaking of which, the Moon Clan seemed to have specially asked about the sky-breaking halberd. Could it be that the ancient Moon Emperor had some connection with Brother Zhao's previous life, Immortal Haozong? After saying that, Qin Shujian said with a faint smile, if there is really any friendship, Bin Huang thinks that Brother Xiao can come forward and think of a way to rope in the Moon Clan. That way, the Human Clan will have one more ally. There is no need for me to come forward. If Emperor Qin is willing to come forward, the Moon Clan will definitely ally with the Human Clan. Xiao Chengfeng smiled mysteriously. Qin Shujian's face darkened, and the smile also froze on his face. Brother Xiao, what do you mean? The Moon Clan has extreme Yin, and the way of cultivation is also different. If the Moon Clan wants to cultivate to become a true immortal, they must maintain their original Yin. But after becoming a true immortal, it is different. They pay attention to the balance of yin and yang. For a man like Emperor Qin who is so vigorous, the current Moon Emperor should be very fond of him. And every generation of Moon Emperors is an extremely beautiful woman. The ancient Moon Emperor was even known as the most beautiful woman in the world. Xiao Chengfeng slowly revealed some secrets from his mouth. Qin Shujian, who was standing aside, had a very strange expression, plucking yin to replenish yang. This did not sound like the name of the Moon Clan. In his imagination, the Moon Clan should be noble and holy. Why did it sound a little bit like a bitch? Xiao Chengfeng seemed to have seen through Qin Shujian's inner thoughts. He shook his head. The ancient Moon Emperor was like that. Many true immortals had some connection with that Moon Emperor. In the end, that Moon Emperor even dreamed of becoming the Empress of Heaven. What a pity. How could the Emperor of Heaven be interested in such a withered woman? The ancient Moon Emperor wanted to become the Empress of Heaven? Qin Shujian was stunned. In his sea of consciousness, Godslayer said, I know about the Moon Clan. If you want to know about this, just ask me directly. You don't have to come here to ask him. Regarding the voice in his sea of consciousness, Qin Shujian turned a deaf ear to it. Xiao Chengfeng said, the ancient Moon Emperor was also a top expert. It was rumored that she was an 8th level immortal, but in my opinion, she should have broken through to the 9th level immortal. As for the reason why she wanted to become the Empress of Heaven, it is very simple. She just wanted to collect the yang energy of the Emperor of Heaven and use it to see the realm above the rules. That bitch, as long as you are strong enough, you can sleep with her. It's just that the price of sleeping with her is a little high. In Xiao Chengfeng's opinion, being a member of the heavenly court like the Moon Emperor, he felt ashamed. Hearing this, Qin Shujian also knew about the ancient Moon Emperor. At the same time, he also had a better understanding of how powerful the Moon Emperor was. Xiao Chengfeng's words were full of disdain. But if what he said was true, that the ancient Moon Emperor was a 9th level immortal expert, then she was really powerful. Although he did not know how many 9th level immortals there were in the heavenly court, but Qin Shujian was sure. There were definitely not many who could reach this realm. Immediately, he thought of something again and looked at Xiao Chengfeng with a mocking expression. If that's the case, Brother Xiao is also a famous expert in the ancient times. Does that mean you have a relationship with the Moon Emperor? But that's right. If not, why would the Moon Clan care so much about the sky-breaking halberd? Bullsh**t. Xiao Chengfeng scolded. This was the first time he scolded someone. Women will only affect the progress of my cultivation. Why would I bother with them? Moreover, someone like the Moon Emperor is not worthy of my attention. When she came to me, I didn't even look at her. Looking at Xiao Chengfeng's exasperated expression, Qin Shujian's expression was a little strange. Then, he smiled faintly and said, Brother Xiao, don't be so anxious. Ben Huang was just asking casually. At this moment, Xiao Chengfeng also calmed down. The anger on his face disappeared, and he regained his original calmness. But no matter what, the ancient Moon Emperor is still very powerful. She may not really be dead. Maybe she has already reincarnated in the Moon Clan. Although the Moon Clan has never had any enmity with the human clan, being neutral doesn't mean that we won't be enemies. When there is a conflict of interest, anyone will turn hostile. Qin Shujian, other than paying attention to the enemy forces, you must also be wary of the Moon Clan. Xiao Chengfeng warned. In his opinion, the Moon Clan was very powerful and could not be ignored. Qin Shujian stopped smiling and said in a serious voice, the Moon Clan should still have some ancient immortals who haven't broken out of the seal. They do have a lot of trump cards. Ben Huang will not be careless. The sealed immortals are nothing to worry about. Xiao Chengfeng shook his head, then looked at Qin Shujian and said with a smile, with Qin Shujian's current strength, even if a few immortals break out of the seal, they will not be your match. Brother Xiao is the same. Qin Shujian smiled faintly. During this time, Xiao Chengfeng's combat strength had changed again, from 80,000 to 83,000. As for his realm, he was still at the 7th level of the celestial being realm. At this level, Qin Shujian had a feeling that if he really cultivated to the 7th level of the celestial being realm, his combat strength would not be much weaker than his own. If there is a chance, I really want to learn from Qin Shujian. Xiao Chengfeng sighed and said, Exchanging blows with experts was one of his hobbies. Although Qin Shujian was not a mortal yet, in his eyes, he was no different from one. Also, compared to ordinary immortals, Xiao Chengfeng was more willing to fight with talents like Qin Shujian, because from such a person, he could see more things. However, if the two of them fought with all their strength, it would definitely cause a big commotion. If they were not careful, they might even get hurt. The human race was in a tense situation. Nothing could happen to the top experts. There will be a chance. Qin Shujian replied simply, then picked up the spiritual tea on the table and drank it all, then got up and left. Xiao Chengfeng wanted to fight with him. He also wanted to fight with Xiao Chengfeng. Qin Shujian was also very curious about the reincarnation of immortal Haozong. However, now was not the time to fight. After leaving the Xiao mansion, Qin Shujian separated a strand of divine will and headed straight to the Central State Prefecture. The Central State Prefecture. In the Imperial Palace of the Imperial City. In the study, Emperor Zhao opened his closed eyes and looked at the person who appeared in front of him. There was no surprise in his eyes. Qin Shujian, how come you have time to come here? This time, I came here only to discuss one thing with you, Zhao Emperor. Qin Shujian stood with his hands clasped behind his back and looked at Emperor Zhao. Hearing that, Emperor Zhao looked normal. What is it? Qin Shujian said, Ben Huang is going to open the restriction of heaven and earth and merge the East continent with the other 3 continents. Open the restriction of heaven and earth? That's right. Without the Qin River, anyone who has reached the level where their physical body can cross the void can pass through. Now that all the races have been born, the restriction of heaven and earth has no effect on stopping them. Besides, the human race is strong enough now, so we don't need the restriction of heaven and earth. In that case, why don't we open the restriction of heaven and earth and let the East continent be born? Qin Shujian said confidently. In the past, the human race had to rely on the restriction of heaven and earth as a barrier. That was when the human race was weak. But now, the human race no longer needed to rely on the restriction of heaven and earth. When the human race was defeated, who could stop the restriction of heaven and earth without the Qin River? Emperor Zhao pondered for a moment, then nodded and said, there is no need for the restriction of heaven and earth. If you want to open it, Ben Huang has no objection. But I don't know if you want to do it or let Ben Huang do it. Ben Huang alone is enough, Qin Shujian said. He came this time just to tell Emperor Zhao about opening the restriction of heaven and earth. After all, the human race had 2 human emperors now. There were some decisions that couldn't be made by one person alone, and he really did it. It was inevitable that there would be unnecessary friction between him and Emperor Zhao. Then, Qin Shujian's divine will dissipated, turning into a stream of light and disappearing. Emperor Zhao shook his head slightly, then closed his eyes again. These were just trivial matters. They were not worth his attention. In the Qin Yuan realm, Qin Shujian's divine will returned. He smiled faintly. Since we are going to open the 10,000 clan battlefield, there is no need for the restriction of heaven and earth to exist. But before that, I need to do something first. He stood up. He took a step forward and disappeared from where he stood. The next moment, he appeared at the edge of the restriction of heaven and earth. This position was not where the entrance of the passage was, so there was naturally no one guarding here. Qin Shujian closed his eyes, and his divine will frantically spread out along the edge of the restriction of heaven and earth. About 15 minutes later, he withdrew all the divine will that he had spread out. The restriction of heaven and earth covers about 1,000,000 miles. If it is all opened, the spirit qi accumulated in the eastern continent will be greatly tilted to the other 3 continents. Qin Shujian put his hands behind his back, looking at the violent turbulence in the void in front of him. He worked so hard to move the spirit vein here, so he naturally did not want to work for other forces. Therefore, to open the restriction of heaven and earth, the prerequisite was to set up an array to block the spirit qi, to ensure that the spirit qi would not leak out. Setting up an array in 1,000,000 miles. It was not an easy task. Fortunately, Qin Shujian had now broken through to the 3rd realm of Array Grandmaster and was only 1 step away from the rumored Saint realm. At this level, Array Dao was almost enough to open a small world. In this way, it wouldn't be difficult to set up a formation that covered an area of 1,000,000 miles. But I'm afraid it will take more time. P.S. There are still 100 chapters to go. Come on, Old Sheen already has a profile picture on the character page. Chapter 668. It was easy for an array master to set up an array. The higher the cultivation level, the lower the difficulty of setting up an array. However, setting up an array also depended on the situation. It was not easy to set up such a large array that needed to block the spirit energy of a continent and was millions of miles long. And there can't be any mistakes in the array. If there are cultivators fighting, the aftermath can't destroy the array. In this case, I need an array base, Qin Shujian thought in his heart. With his current means, setting up an array in the void was not a big problem. It was still the same sentence. If he wanted the array to be strong enough, he needed an array base. If I use the void as the array base, the power is not strong enough. Unless I can reach the level of opening a small world, otherwise, I still need to borrow external objects. Qin Shujian thought of this. He directly took out some materials from the heaven board. Then he used heaven and earth as a furnace. He began to forge on the spot. After breaking through to the third stage of the Forging Grandmaster, this was the first time Qin Shujian forged a magic weapon. In the past, at the second stage, he had already forged an 8-seal Dao artifact like the heaven board. However, it was not an easy task to forge a 9-seal Dao artifact. Even now, Qin Shujian, he was not confident, because the gap from 8 seals to 9 seals was too big. In order to successfully forge it, he had to reach the Saint stage. However, this time, he did not need a 9-seal Dao artifact to forge the array base. The heaven and earth furnace rose. The forging materials were thrown in. Qin Shujian waved his hand and saw the surrounding temperature rise rapidly. In less than half a day, these materials had all melted. 2 days passed. Thunder fell from the sky. 5 days passed. The thunder disappeared. The thunder light in the sky turned into rays of light, and finally, the 18-square array flags soared into the sky. Finally, Qin Shujian reached out and grabbed the array flags in his hand. A top-notch spirit weapon, almost comparable to a 3-seal Dao artifact, can be used. If it was before, a top-notch spirit weapon comparable to a 3-seal Dao artifact was naturally a rare treasure for him. But Qin Shujian looked at it now. A top-notch spirit weapon comparable to a 3-seal Dao artifact was just that. Such a magic weapon. It was not top-notch at all. However, it was more than enough to set up a simple array formation. In the later period of time, Qin Shujian had set up the array formation in the area of the heaven and earth restriction. Half a month passed. He was always inscribing runes in the void. Fortunately, after breaking through to the 8th stage of the heaven-human realm, Qin Shujian's spirit god had reached an extremely frightening level. If one wanted to inscribe void runes in an area of 1,000,000 miles, they would have to be extremely careful. It wouldn't be too difficult. After the formation pattern was engraved, he found a suitable place and inserted the 18-square formation flags into it according to the pattern of the mountains and earth veins. At this point, the formation could be considered complete. After setting up the array formation, Qin Shujian did not activate it immediately. Instead, he entered the turbulent void. Something that did not belong to the space vortex had entered this place. Naturally, it caused an uproar in the surroundings. However, a powerful aura spread out from Qin Shujian's body, suppressing the turbulence in the surroundings. At this moment, he was standing in the center of the space vortex. With his body as the center, the space vortex within 100 miles had stabilized. The main reason for the heaven and earth restriction was that Xia Yi had self-detonated half of the law. The chaotic law power raged here, causing the void to be shattered by the law power immediately after it calmed down. Over time, it formed the space vortex that had existed for 200,000 years. To put it bluntly, as long as all the law fragments here are removed, the shattered void will gradually calm down, and the heaven and earth restriction will no longer exist. Qin Shujian's divine consciousness spread out. Immediately, one could see that there were countless strands scattered all around. Those were the fragments of the rules. Immediately after, he reached out and held a thread. Immediately, he felt a slight tingling pain in his palm. Qin Shujian looked down. This thin thread was like a sharp blade of a magic weapon, leaving a shallow white mark on his palm. Immediately after, the long river of law appeared and attached to his palm. Then, he squeezed hard. The thread immediately dissipated like starlight. Only the law can deal with the law, Qin Shujian muttered to himself. Then, a smile appeared on his face. He took a step forward. The long river of law rushed over. He punched out. Countless law fragments were destroyed, turning into starlight and dissipating. Such an unforeseen event. Naturally, it caused the entire heaven and earth restriction to shake violently. What's going on? What happened? Why is the heaven and earth restriction shaking? Is there a human true immortal inside? Many of the cultivators near the heaven and earth restriction were shocked when they saw this scene. No one knew what happened to the heaven and earth restriction to cause such an unforeseen event. Duan Sun, who was guarding the entrance of the passage. Now, he immediately sent a message back to the imperial court. After doing all this, he immediately looked at the other generals and shouted, "Pass down my order. Everyone, be on guard in case an enemy appears in the heaven and earth restriction." For the other humans, the heaven and earth restriction's abnormality could be a good thing. But in Duan Sun's opinion, it might not be so, because the heaven and earth restriction stretched for millions of miles. It was within the East continent and connected to the 4 major continents. As for the human territory outside the passage, it did not include the entire heaven and earth restriction, but only occupied a very small area. In other words, if an expert bypassed the human territory and directly broke into the heaven and earth restriction, it was not impossible. In this way, now, the heaven and earth restriction's abnormality. Maybe it was caused by an expert from another race who broke in. But not long after, the imperial court sent a message back. Duan Sun took out the communication jade talisman and read the message inside. After a while, he put down the communication jade talisman and let out a sigh of relief. "General Duan, what did the imperial court say?" A deputy general beside him saw this and could not help but ask in a low voice. Hearing this, Duan Sun shook his head and said, "The imperial court said that the heaven and earth restrictions abnormality might be because Emperor Qin is calming the void turbulence. But no matter what, we still can't relax to avoid any mistakes." "I understand." The deputy general nodded, but the expression on his face was a bit strange. Emperor Qin is calming the void turbulence? If that's the case, then what's the point of them guarding the passage entrance? Not only was the deputy general puzzled, even Duan Sun was at a loss. Everything was fine. Why did Emperor Qin want to calm the void turbulence? Could it be, were the human clans so powerful that they did not need the heaven and earth restriction as a barrier? Duan Sun got the news. In the human territory, the 4 city lords also got the news from the imperial court at the same time. Emperor Qin is calming the void turbulence. After getting the news, Huazhan was shocked. The news from the imperial court. It was completely out of his expectation. Dan Hao said in a deep voice, "Emperor Qin must have his reasons for doing so. The human clan is powerful now, and we do not need the heaven and earth restriction. The problem is that the heaven and earth restriction is news. It's not easy to prevent an outsider from sneaking into the eastern continent." Huazhan was a bit worried. The eastern continent was now under the control of the human clan. The main reason was that the heaven and earth restriction kept the other races outside. If the heaven and earth restriction disappeared, it would not be easy for the human clan to monopolize the eastern continent. Even if an outsider enters the eastern continent, so what? It won't cause any trouble. Dan Hao replied noncommittally. Hearing this, Huazhan looked at Dan Hao with a strange expression. "That's not right. You didn't say that in the past." "I said that I wanted to let an outsider enter the eastern continent, and you've been holding a grudge until now. However, now that Emperor Qin wants to open the heaven and earth restriction, you changed your words. Even if you have double standards, you don't have such double standards." Huazhan felt a little tired. Sometimes, the gap between people is really big. He sighed meaningfully. Dan Hao looked at him strangely and said, "What's wrong with you again?" "Nothing. I have some enlightenment during this period of time, so I plan to go into seclusion to see if I can break through to the 7th level of the celestial being." Huajian shook his head and said casually, "Anyway, the Eastern City is going to vacate. As the city lord of the Eastern City, I'm about to be laid off. I might as well go back and cultivate. I won't come out until I reach the 7th level of the celestial being." Hearing this, Dan Hao looked at him with some pity in his eyes. In the end, he comforted him. "Don't worry, your position as the city lord of the Eastern City shouldn't change. Even if Emperor Qin invites the rulers of the 10,000 races to discuss matters, it won't affect you too much." Haha. Huajian rolled his eyes at him. The rulers of the 10,000 races had really arrived. The weakest among them was an expert of the 10th level of the celestial being realm, and there was no lack of true immortals among them. As a cultivator of the 6th level of the celestial being realm, what was the use of him staying here? Serving tea? Or pouring water? If that was the case, he might as well not be the city lord. Just as the two of them were talking, a violent fluctuation suddenly came from the heaven and earth restriction. Rumble. A terrifying power swept out from within, and all the rule fragments were shattered and destroyed. When the rule fragments were destroyed, the shattered void slowly healed, and the void turbulence gradually calmed down. The void turbulence calmed down. To the others, it was as if the sky was gradually lifted by someone. A brand new world appeared in front of everyone. That's the Eastern continent. The cultivators in the human territory were only stunned for a moment before they immediately reacted. Immediately after, they realized something. The disappearance of the heaven and earth restriction meant that the Eastern continent was completely connected to the other 3 continents. It was also at this moment the powerhouses of the other continents were also alarmed. One powerhouse after another cast their gazes over. They saw the heaven and earth restriction that had disappeared, and they also saw the Eastern continent behind it. The Eastern continent that has disappeared for 200,000 years has appeared. Is this the Eastern continent? Why did the heaven and earth restriction disappear? Could it be that a human powerhouse made a move? Every foreign powerhouse who saw the Eastern continent was both curious and disappointed. To be honest, when the Eastern continent was not real, there were still some fantasies. However, when it really appeared in front of everyone, but that was all. The last time Xia Yi walked out of the void turbulence, the heaven and earth restriction had disappeared for a moment. But the problem was, at that time, everyone's attention was on Xia Yi, and no one deliberately paid attention to the Eastern continent. But it was different now. There was no world-shaking battle, and no powerhouse appeared. Therefore, the moment the heaven and earth restriction disappeared, those powerhouses looked at the Eastern continent. For this place that had been occupied by the human race for 200,000 years, they also wanted to see what it was like. Unfortunately, the Eastern continent was very ordinary, very ordinary. Compared to the other 3 continents, it might be slightly inferior. But even so, some cultivators were ready to make a move. To them, the emergence of a new continent was equivalent to the existence of a lot of resources. To be able to enter, they might be able to gain some benefits. At this moment, a 10,000 feet tall giant suddenly appeared, and a terrifying aura spread out, causing everyone's heart to tremble. Emperor Qin. It didn't matter if it was a human cultivator or a foreign cultivator. At this moment, everyone's gazes moved away from the Eastern continent and then gathered on Qin Shujian. After casting lawful embodiment of heaven and earth, Qin Shujian's combat power had soared to 400,000. The aura that was as vast as an abyss let everyone know clearly what it meant to be as powerful as a prison. In the next moment, the precepts of heaven and earth descended. 4 precepts of heaven and earth came across the sky. In an instant, Qin Shujian's combat power reached an unprecedented peak. If one looked at it from the heaven list, one could see that his combat power had soared to 1,400,000. He didn't move at all. Just by the overflowing aura, he suppressed the void within 10,000 miles and shattered it. Then under everyone's shocked gazes, a 10,000 feet long stone saber appeared in his hand. Then, the long saber slashed out, and the stone saber slashed down from the sky. Not only did this slash cut through the void, but it also split the light into two. Boom! Endless Taoist rhymes burst out from the saber. Everyone's gazes involuntarily fell on the stone saber, and then they felt a sharp pain, forcing them to close their eyes. Tears mixed with faint traces of blood slid down from their eyelids. Whether it was a true martial realm cultivator or a diviner, at this moment, they all closed their eyes at the same time. The Soul Protection Emperor wanted to hold on, but he couldn't hold on for long. The sharp pain also forced him to close his eyes. 2 lines of blood slid down his eyelids. So powerful. The 2 simple words contained all of the Soul Protection Emperor's shock. Although he knew that his strength was weaker than an ordinary true immortal, he was much stronger than an ordinary half-immortal. In the 4 continents, apart from the true immortals who had succeeded in their Tao, the Soul Protection Emperor felt that he was the strongest one. But even so, he still couldn't look directly at Qin Shujian's saber. Such a gap in strength, it made the Soul Protection Emperor feel a little powerless. Until now, the only ones who could see this saber were the true immortals of the various clans. Eastern Continent, Central Continent's Imperial City. Emperor Zhao was slightly startled. Then, he looked at the endless mountain range with a grave expression. Qianyuan Realm, Xiao Changfeng, who was tasting his tea, paused in the middle of picking up the teacup. Then, he stood up from the pavilion and looked at the sky with his hands clasped behind his back. The sky of the Qianyuan Realm, it couldn't block the gaze of the Xiao family's patriarch. It pierced through the barrier of the Qianyuan Realm and saw Qin Shujian's saber slash at the heaven and earth restriction. At this moment, the saber fell, blocking the light of the sun and the moon. Then, the earth shook violently. By the time everyone opened their eyes, all the strange phenomena had disappeared. There was no giant that was 10,000 feet tall. There was no saber that could cut through heaven and earth. The sky was still the same sky. But the difference was that a canyon that was 1,000,000 miles long had appeared on the ground, occupying all the places that originally belonged to the heaven and earth restriction. The canyon was 1,000,000 miles long, about 1,000 feet wide, and 10,000 feet deep. From the outside world, it was more appropriate to call it an abyss than a canyon. Soon, a loud voice came from the eastern continent and spread in all directions. Those who cross the canyon and step into the eastern continent without the permission of the human clan will die. The voice was transmitted. Only the lingering sound echoed between heaven and earth. Hearing that, the faces of the cultivators who were about to take the opportunity to enter the eastern continent turned green. They felt as if they had been fooled. Since they weren't allowed to enter, then they should be more direct and not open the heaven and earth restriction. Now that they had opened the heaven and earth restriction, they were not allowed to enter. What was the meaning of this? These cultivators, they wanted to ignore Qin Shujian's words, cross the canyon, and enter the eastern continent. However, when they thought of the saber that could not be looked directly at, and the scene where the saber slashed out 1,000,000 miles of the canyon, their little hearts trembled again. Afraid? What are you afraid of? The canyon is 1,000,000 miles long. I don't believe the human clan can guard it all. A foreign heavenly being gulped, then mustered his courage and flew toward the canyon. However, as soon as he entered the canyon, endless saber chi erupted. In an instant, the heavenly being cultivator did not even have time to struggle before he was blasted into a bloody mist by the endless saber chi. Boom! The bloody mist exploded and scattered from the void. What powerful saber chi! Some of the foreign experts sucked in a breath of cold air when they saw this. A heavenly being cultivator. He did not even have time to struggle and escape before he was killed by the remaining saber chi. Such power. It was enough to make anyone fearful. Not only were the foreign races shocked, but even the human clan cultivators were horrified. Especially the cultivators of the human clan's territory. Everyone couldn't help but look at each other in dismay. Have we been abandoned? Someone could not help but complain. That's right. The canyon had indeed intimidated all the races. But the problem was, if all the races could not pass, the human clan could not pass either. Didn't this mean that Those who stayed in the human clan's territory could not return to the eastern continent even if they wanted to. Just as the cultivators of the human clan's territory were in a daze, the original entrance of the passage. The army was on standby. However, when everyone saw the person who flew over, their eyes could not help but reveal a look of reverence. Emperor Qin. Duan Sun walked up and then bowed. Qin Shujian looked at the army in front of him and said faintly, "Why did you gather the army?" There was a strange movement in the heaven and earth restriction ahead. I was worried that a foreign powerhouse would barge in, so I gathered the army to prepare for battle, Duan Sun said truthfully. As he spoke, he could not help but glance at the canyon not far ahead. The heaven and earth restriction was gone. There was an additional canyon. Seeing this, Duan Sun retracted his gaze and said respectfully, "Emperor Qin, there is a canyon blocking the way now. Although the foreign race cannot enter, it will be troublesome for us to get out." When he said this, he was very careful. He was afraid that if he made Qin Shujian unhappy, he would be slapped to death. "It's a small problem." Qin Shujian shook his head slightly and then took a step forward. Under the gaze of Duan Sun and everyone else, he simply raised his leg and then stomped down in the air. Boom! The void exploded. A terrifying force erupted and instantly tore the canyon apart. All the remaining blade chi along the way disappeared without a trace. When everything was calm, a path. It appeared in the middle of the canyon. As long as the human clan enters and exits, you can go through the passage in the middle. However, no one is allowed to leave the range of the passage without permission, because there are still remnants of Ben Huang's blade chi in other places. If you accidentally die under the blade chi, then you can't blame anyone. Qin Shujian calmly retracted his foot, turned around and said to the stunned Duan Sun, "Ah, yes, your majesty." Duan Sun hurriedly came back to his senses and bowed to accept the order. At this moment, there is no need to send too many people to guard the canyon passage. It is enough to let a few soldiers stay here to avoid wasting too much power. After saying this, Qin Shujian had already disappeared. Duan Sun cupped his hands toward an empty place. Then, his gaze fell on the canyon passage. His eyes were full of amazement. The methods of the Qin Emperor are truly incredible. That kick just now, it directly kicked through the range of the heaven and earth restriction. Although the range of the heaven and earth restriction was only 1,000,000 miles, it was not short in a straight line. But even so, it was still kicked through by the other party. That posture, it was just like eating and drinking. It was not that difficult. At the same time, before the city lords of the four cities could recover from the series of changes, they had already received Qin Shujian's message. From now on, the four cities no longer need to guard the passage. If you encounter an expert that you cannot defeat, you can retreat into the passage and return to the eastern continent. In addition, each city can also accommodate the cultivators of the various races. "Yes, your majesty." Huazhan cupped his hands toward the sky and accepted the order. Then, he looked toward the canyon and let out an inexplicable sigh. He seemed to be emotional. He also seemed to be excited. Different from the heaven and earth restriction, the purpose of the canyon was not to stop the cultivators of the various races from entering the eastern continent. It was a simple boundary to tell others that it was the territory of the human race. Once they crossed the canyon and entered the territory of the human race, then they could not blame anyone if they were killed. It was also because of this. There was no need to guard the territory of the human race. Officially, like the territories of the other races, they could accept cultivators from other races. This way, it meant that the human race had become stronger. They did not need to focus on defense like before. The human race was strong. As a member of the human race, he was naturally happy about this. Dan Hao wiped the blood off his face, turned to look at Huazhan, who had a strange expression, and said, "How much did you comprehend from Emperor Qin's slash just now?" "Less than 1%. Huazhan shook his head, but there was a smile on his face. That earth-shattering slash. Even if he had only comprehended 1%, it was enough for him to enjoy. "I have a feeling that in the next year, I can officially break through to the 7th level of the celestial being realm." So fast. Dan Hao was slightly surprised. Huazhan was different from him. He had only broken through to the 6th level of the celestial being realm for close to 100 years. As for himself, he had stayed in the 6th level of the celestial being realm for over 1,000 years before finally finding an opportunity to break through the original barrier. In comparison, Dan Hao is also a little jealous. Huajian said, "After all, hard work can't compare to sudden enlightenment." During this period of time, many cultivators have fought. Although the enlightenment each time is not much, it is almost enough. That's true. Only a great battle can make the realm break through faster. When Dan Hao heard this, he nodded his head in agreement. If not for the many battles during this period of time, if he wanted to break through to become a mighty figure, he would probably need another 100 years. Although there was only a small difference between the 6th level of the celestial being realm to the 7th level of the celestial being realm, the difficulty was not small at all. After all, the 7th level of the celestial being realm. In the celestial being realm, it was already considered a watershed. If one went further up, it was the nirvana realm. In the Qian Yuan realm, Xiao Chengfeng retracted his gaze, but there was still a lingering amazement on his face. What a powerful slash! At this moment, the flames of war were ignited in his heart. If one were to look at it with the eyes of his previous life, Qin Shujian's slash could only be considered ordinary. Any 3rd-level immortal could slash out such a slash. But the problem was, he was now Xiao Chengfeng, not immortal Lord Haozong. Nor was he a 9th-level immortal. He was just a mere 7th level of the celestial being realm. Qin Shujian was the one who slashed out this slash. He was not a 3rd-level immortal, but a celestial being who had yet to prove his Tao. If that was the case, that was enough to shock the world. The celestial being slaying immortals is only a 10th-level celestial being against a 1st-level immortal. Even if it was an ordinary 2nd-level immortal like Emperor Qin, he would probably be able to kill him on the spot. The difference in strength is really too great. Xiao Chengfeng shook his head. Among the celestial beings he had seen, he had never seen one as powerful as Qin Shujian. He had never seen one before. Someone could comprehend 4 rules in the celestial being realm. However, in the eyes of others, the reason why Qin Shujian could be so powerful was because of the 4 rules and Zhu Bing. But in Xiao Chengfeng's eyes, the other party's strength was in himself. After all, whether it was Zhu Bing or the increase of the rules, they were all based on the cultivator's own body. According to his estimation, Qin Shujian's combat strength had reached at least 200,000. The 10th level of the celestial being realm, 200,000 combat strength. With my current foundation, I'm afraid it's almost there. But it might be even more powerful. How could a supreme foundation be built so easily? Xiao Chengfeng made a comparison between himself and Qin Shujian. In the end, he came to a conclusion. Even if he reincarnated and recultivated to the 10th level of the celestial being realm, his foundation might not be much stronger than Qin Shujian's. This result made him feel shocked. At this moment, Xiao Chengfeng's battle intent was also boiling fiercely. He really wanted to have a real fight with Qin Shujian. But after thinking about it, Xiao Chengfeng suppressed his desire to fight. A fight between experts. There had never been such a thing as a real fight. If they really fought, they would have to give it their all. Looking at the current situation, if they fought with all their strength, the probability of him losing was too high. So, Xiao Chengfeng planned to wait until he had cultivated to the limit of the celestial being realm, then he would have a good fight with Qin Shujian. The premise was, at that time, Qin Shujian had not yet proven his Tao and become an immortal. The demon emperor recalled the blade he saw earlier in his mind and did not speak for a long time. After a while, a long sigh. What a powerful blade! In front of that blade, he felt the threat of death. In other words, if he did not have the heavenly demon temple, he would die if he took that blade head-on. Thinking of this possibility, the demon emperor's heart sank again. When Emperor Qin severely injured Emperor Star last time, although the strength he showed was powerful, it was not to this extent. Could it be that he hid his strength at that time? Or, recently, his cultivation has improved again? The demon emperor was not sure. But compared to the latter, he was more willing to believe the former. When Qin Shujian severely injured Emperor Star, he deliberately held back. Or else, it would be too shocking. However, the demon emperor could not figure out why Qin Shujian held back. If he wanted to hide his strength, that was fine. But since he hid his strength, now that it was completely exposed, it was contradictory. For a moment, the demon emperor's expression kept changing. He realized he seemed to have fallen into a certain misunderstanding. After a long time, the demon emperor sighed. The foundation of the human race is really unfathomable. Not only the demon emperor, even the perfected immortals of other forces. When they saw Qin Shujian slash out of the canyon, they all fell silent at this moment. Everyone. They were all recalling that blade that seemed to be able to cut the world in half. They all put themselves in his shoes and guessed, if it were them, would they be able to take that blade? In the end, they all came to the conclusion that they did not have the confidence to take it. Or rather, if they took it by force, they would only die. In the secret realm of the star race, Emperor Star felt that his entire body was trembling. Impossible. How can he be so powerful? That slash had cut off the last trace of hope in his heart. Emperor Star realized, if Qin Shujian had used such strength to slash him in the past, he would not have been seriously injured but would have died on the spot. Thinking of this, Emperor Star felt lucky to have survived the disaster, as well as gratitude that even he himself did not realize. He was glad that he did not die. He was also grateful that Qin Shujian spared his life. At this moment, an elder came in from outside, bowed his head and said, "My emperor, there is a human cultivator outside our territory. He said that he is the messenger of the Qinyuan sacred ground of the human race. He came here on the order of the Qin Emperor." The Qin Emperor of the Qinyuan sacred ground? Emperor Star was stunned, but he quickly reacted. "Let him come in." "Yes." "Wait. Well, be polite. Don't forget the etiquette of the star race," Emperor Star said. Yes." The elder was slightly stunned. Then he came back to his senses and left the hall directly. The etiquette of the star race. As an elder, he did not remember any etiquette of the star race. However, the elder also heard Emperor Star's words. Outside the secret realm of the star race, Zhang Erge was sitting and waiting there. Seeing the elder of the star race arrive, he stood up and cupped his hands, saying, "How is it? My emperor has ordered you to come with me." Thinking of Emperor Star's words, the elder showed a warm smile on his face. He turned sideways and said politely, the sudden change of attitude. Zhang Erge was puzzled. He remembered that when he first arrived, the elder in front of him had a dark face. If it weren't for the name of the Qin Emperor, Zhang Erge wondered if the elder was going to eat him alive. As a result, the elder's attitude now had a 180-degree change, which immediately raised a lot of doubts in his heart. All of a sudden, Zhang Ergu's face turned pale, and he thought of a possibility. There is a conspiracy. What should I do? They don't want to kill me, do they? No, if they want to kill me, they don't have to go through so much trouble. They can do it directly here. But it's hard to say. What if they do it in the secret realm of the star race, where they can do it more stealthily? All kinds of ideas emerged in his mind. Zhang Ergu's face became darker and darker. He tried to communicate with the Qinkuan Bao secretly, but the Bao did not move at all, as if it was dead. Seeing this, Zhang Ergu cursed the Qinkuan Bao in his heart while following the elder of the star race, thinking of a way to save his life. However, when he completely entered the secret realm of the star race and saw the Star Emperor, he didn't think of any countermeasures. Just when Zhang Ergu was distracted, a gentle voice rang out in the main hall, waking him up with a start. "What brings you to the star race?" After hearing the words of the Star Emperor, Zhang Ergu forced himself to calm down, then cupped his hands and said, "I'm here on the order of the Qin Emperor to invite the Star Emperor to go to the east city of the human race's territory in 1.5 months to attend the meeting of the 10,000 races to discuss the 10,000 races battlefield." He had already said this many times. He would say it again at this moment. It was as simple as moving clouds and flowing water. The Star Emperor on the main seat nodded slightly. What the elder said was similar to what he had guessed. The elder was here for the meeting of the 10,000 races. After all, this matter had spread throughout the 4 continents. There was no emperor who didn't know about this matter. If there was a difference, The difference was that some emperors had received the invitation, while some hadn't. The Star Emperor said, "Bin Huang already knows about this. He will attend the meeting on time." "Well, then I'll take my leave." Zhang Ergu glanced at the Star Emperor and said. Hearing this, the Star Emperor signaled the elder beside him with his eyes. Then, the elder took Zhang Ergu and left the secret realm of the Star Race. When they finally left the territory of the Star Race, Zhang Ergu relaxed completely. After turning his head to look at the Star Race, he quickly left this place. Although the Star Race was very polite from the beginning to the end, however, he felt that the Star Race was up to no good. In this case, it was safer to stay away from them. P.S. When I said I've paid back all the chapters, I meant I've paid back all the debts. I didn't mean there were still 100 chapters left. Chapter 669. 6,791 years to the end of the year. Xiangyue. Nearly 2 months had passed since Emperor Qin of the human clan opened the restriction of heaven and earth and drew a boundary in the eastern continent. At this point, the eastern continent was officially connected to the other 3 continents. The human clan also gradually revealed their prowess from a passive state of defense. The eastern city. After receiving Qin Shujian's order, the eastern city had already risen into the sky, as if it was an empty city. However, no one dared to underestimate this empty city, because the upcoming meeting of the myriad clans would be held in the eastern city. A powerful aura rose from the sky. Then, frost spread across the sky like a white trail, and the surrounding temperature suddenly dropped by an unknown amount. Finally, the ice and frost in the sky gathered together to form a person. The Ice Emperor of the Ice Clan. In the human clan's territory, all the cultivators looked at each other with deep fear in their eyes. No matter what, the Ice Emperor was a rare, true, immortal expert in the world. Facing such an existence, even if they were true immortals, not many dared to underestimate him. With the appearance of the Ice Emperor, Huazhan walked out from the eastern city and said politely, "The Ice Emperor has arrived. Please let me in." Yes. The Ice Emperor nodded slightly and didn't say anything. In the end, Huazhan took the lead and welcomed him in. At this moment, the eastern city was completely empty. All the streets had been cleaned up. The square in the city that was originally for all the cultivators to trade had been arranged according to the positions of the emperors of the myriad clans. However, until now, no one was sitting there. Seeing the Ice Emperor's puzzled expression, Huazhan said, "The Ice Emperor is the first to arrive. Please take a seat here. I believe the other emperors will arrive soon." Just as he finished speaking, another powerful aura appeared in the sky. This wasn't deliberately revealed by those emperors. Instead, when they reached this realm, the aura that they inadvertently revealed was enough to suppress the heavens and the earth. Soon, Huazhan went out and welcomed the emperors again. This former city lord of the eastern city. Now, he had completely become a servant. For this, Huazhan was also very helpless, but there was nothing he could do. After all, the human clan couldn't really ignore the emperors to attend the meeting. Besides, the weakest of the sovereigns was at the 10th level of the heaven-human realm, while the stronger ones had even reached the nirvana realm and the true immortal realm. In the face of such an expert, ordinary people were not qualified to receive guests. It was just that there were too few mighty figures among the humans. After much thought, only Huazhan, who was at the 6th level of the heaven-human realm, was barely suitable. In fact, to be serious, 6th level of the heaven realm, he also didn't take up his current position of welcoming guests. With the arrival of the Ice Emperor, the sovereigns of the 10,000 races also appeared one after another. The aura that suppressed the void leaked out, shaking the hearts of the cultivators in the human territory. Now, the human territory had loosened its restrictions. Even non-human cultivators could enter the territory. He wanted to see the emperors with his own eyes. Many cultivators from different clans had gathered around the area. That must be Star Emperor. I heard that Star Emperor is one of the most powerful emperors below Demon Emperor and Human Emperor. Star Emperor is not bad. However, I heard that he was severely injured by Qin Shi Huang not long ago. It seems that Qin Shi Huang is stronger. Of course, The human sovereign realm includes Emperor Qin. Seeing the resplendent starlight in the sky, some cultivators immediately recognized the newcomer. There was no other way. The way the Star Clan appeared was really too dazzling. Every time a Star Clan expert appeared, he would consciously trigger the power of the stars in the sky. Like this scene of stars in daytime. That was even more common. So, as long as one saw the stars in daytime, one would know that a Star Clan expert had arrived. But to see all the stars in the sky and even block the light of the sun like this, only Star Emperor could do it. As for Star Emperor, every cultivator had a different opinion. It was mainly because of the previous defeat, which was really embarrassing. But no matter what, this was also a top expert at the true immortal realm. Roar, the void collapsed, and a true dragon that was like a mountain range appeared. The dragon's body loomed in the void, and its huge dragon head poked out. Its pair of dragon eyes were like the sun and moon, making people unable to help but have the urge to worship it. Demon Emperor. Seeing the appearance of the true dragon, everyone sucked in a breath. It had to be said. The power of the Demon Emperor was several times more terrifying than the power of the other emperors, especially that mountain-like dragon body, which directly blocked the sun, moon, and starlight. It seemed that only the true dragon existed in the world. Even, the entire human territory was bathed in a divine power, which made all the cultivators speechless. At this moment, in the East City, a calm voice rang out from within, directly purifying and nullifying the divine might that had enveloped the human domain. Since the Demon Emperor is already here, then come and have a seat. A trace of seriousness appeared in the true dragon's eyes. In the end, the dragon body disappeared and turned into a human, walking toward the East City. How could Ben Huang refuse the invitation of Qin Emperor? While talking, the Demon Emperor had already entered the East City. Outside the East City, the other cultivators looked at each other. Was that the voice of Qin Emperor? Why do I feel that Qin Emperor is stronger than the Demon Emperor? Humph. The Qin Emperor of the human race is naturally not comparable to the Demon Emperor. Hearing that, a human cultivator said with a sneer. Hearing that, a demon said angrily, Qin Emperor is indeed strong, but he has not proven his Tao and become an immortal. My Emperor is already a true immortal. How can Qin Emperor be stronger than my Emperor? Who is stronger and who is weaker? We saw it clearly just now. Just now, it was not considered a fight. And even if it was, we could not see who is stronger. How can we conclude that Qin Emperor is stronger than the Demon Emperor? That demon cultivator continued to refute. For the demon race, the Demon Emperor was their supreme existence, and they would never allow others to slander him. Hearing that, a middle-aged human sneered. Qin Emperor has not yet become an immortal, but he has already severely injured Star Emperor. If he really becomes an immortal, how can the Demon Emperor be his opponent? With Qin Emperor's talent, it is even easier for him to become an immortal. No matter what, the Demon Emperor cannot be compared to Qin Emperor. Bullshit. The demon cultivators were flustered and exasperated. On the other side, several cultivators with faint starlight shrouding their bodies consciously retreated. There was nothing to say. Of course, the Emperor was disgraced. That was the truth. Now, as long as they talked about Qin Emperor, they could indirectly use Star Emperor to step on him. They were also helpless. However, compared to the demon cultivators, these cultivators of the Star Clan were more willing to believe that Qin Emperor was stronger, because that was the only way. Only then would the Emperor's defeat not be so embarrassing. Even, they still hoped that Qin Emperor would fight with the Demon Emperor now and severely injure the Demon Emperor. Then, it would be good for everyone. Or else, Star Emperor could not get rid of the fact that he had been severely injured by Qin Emperor. Just as the human race and the demon race were about to quarrel and fight each other, someone shouted in a deep voice, "Don't make trouble. Now that the emperors of the 10,000 races have arrived, if there is trouble now, no one will have a good time." Hearing that, the others immediately had the desire to make a move. In the East City, with the arrival of the Demon Emperor, more than half of the emperors of the 10,000 races had arrived. The meeting of the 10,000 races. There was no distinction between the main and secondary positions. It was just that the human race was the host, so Qin Shujian's position was a little more prominent. Except for that, there was nothing else. Now that the emperors of the 10,000 races had arrived, none of them spoke easily. Some emperors were sizing up other emperors. But there were more emperors. Their gazes fell on Qin Shujian and another person. The Moon Clan. The Moon Empress. The Moon Empress of each generation was not only the most talented and powerful, but also the most beautiful one in the Moon Clan. The Moon Clan was born handsome. The most beautiful one in the Moon Clan could often be called the #1 beauty in the world. The emperors present, although each of them had cultivated for thousands of years, some of them were still amazed by the Moon Empress. At this moment, the Moon Empress's gentle eyes fell on Qin Shujian. Facing such a gaze, Qin Shujian did not avoid it at all. He also looked at the Moon Empress. The moment he saw the Moon Empress, deep in his heart, he could not help but feel amazed. Among the women he had seen, there seemed to be no one who could compare to the Moon Empress in front of him. But the problem was, Qin Shujian wanted to say how beautiful the Moon Empress was, but he found that he could not say it out loud. This kind of beauty, it was more like a realm, rather than a simple appearance. In his Sea of Consciousness, Godslayer said, "The path of every Moon Empress is the same. It is said that the further one walks on this path, the more charming their appearance will be. This is also the reason why the ancient Moon Empress was so charming, because what seduces you is not only people, but also the rules of heaven and earth." I see. Hearing Godslayer's explanation, Qin Shujian thought to himself, no wonder. Someone like him, who was not very close to women, would have an inexplicable impulse when he saw the Moon Empress. If this was the power of the rules of heaven and earth, then it was different, because between heaven and earth, the power of the rules was the most mysterious. Looking at the Moon Empress in front of him, Qin Shujian looked away indifferently and then looked at the other emperors. There were many emperors who came this time, almost among the 10,000 races, except for those who sealed the secret realms. The emperors of the other races. They had all arrived. It was very simple. This meeting of the 10,000 races was not just a meeting held by the human race. As the news spread, it became a symbol of status. All the powerhouses who could attend the meeting, they were all reputable figures. Even if some powerhouses did not like the human race, they would not refuse this meeting. Of course, the purpose of their participation in the meeting was to see what the human race was up to. While Qin Shujian was sizing up the emperors, he was also in his Sea of Consciousness, using his divine consciousness to respond to Godslayer's words. In ancient times, have you heard about the Moon Empress and immortal Lord Haozong? He thought of Xiao Qingfeng's strange behavior and could not help but gossip. Godslayer said, I don't think so. Immortal Lord Haozong has never been close to women. I don't think I've heard of any rumors about him and the Moon Empress. What a pity. Qin Shujian looked regretful. He thought there was some gossip to listen to. No, Godslayer thought for a moment and said, there seems to be something between the two of them. Anyway, immortal Lord Haozong seemed to be very dissatisfied with the Moon Empress and wanted to attack the Moon Clan many times. However, he was stopped by the Emperor of Heaven, and in the end, it was left unsettled. What exactly was the matter? I don't know. I didn't ask at that time, Godslayer replied. Hearing that, the trace of curiosity that had just arisen in Qin Shujian's heart disappeared. Then, he ignored the god-slaying saber. While they were conversing, Yizichen said, It's fine. The remaining emperors of the various races had also arrived. At this point, there were more than 1,000 rulers present, which meant that the so-called 10,000 races in the 4 great continents were only left with more than 1,000 races. Everyone. Qin Shujian had just opened his mouth when he suddenly paused and looked up at the sky. The other emperors did the same. They saw the sky shatter, and a huge golden-winged rock broke through the sky and finally turned into a middle-aged man wearing a golden feathered robe. He looked at Qin Shujian and cupped his hands with a smile. The Golden Rock Clan is late. I hope Emperor Qin doesn't blame us. It's enough that the Golden Rock Emperor is here. Please take a seat. Thank you. The Golden Rock Emperor cupped his hands slightly and then found an empty seat to sit down. As he appeared, the emperors present all had strange expressions on their faces. In the end, their gazes fell on the Demon Emperor. The Demon Emperor's expression was also a little ugly. He looked at the Golden Rock Emperor coldly. He didn't expect it either. The Golden Rock clan, which had been silent for so many years, would appear at this time. The only thing to be thankful for was that the Golden Rock Emperor hadn't become an immortal. He was only a Nirvana realm cultivator. Sensing the Demon Emperor's gaze, the Golden Rock Emperor turned his head to look at the Demon Emperor and revealed a meaningful smile. All right, since the emperors of the various races have arrived, Ben Huang won't waste your time. I'll get straight to the point. Qin Shujian's voice directly interrupted everyone's thoughts. Then, the emperors of the various races all focused their attention on him. This meeting of the myriad races. They finally got to the main topic. I believe that everyone should know that the first great calamity of the demon abyss appeared and ended the ancient times. The heavenly court was destroyed and the myriad races suffered heavy losses. Now, the second great calamity of the demon abyss is approaching. The recovery of the power of heaven and earth has already indicated the arrival of the great calamity. The power of the four continents is now several times weaker than it was in the ancient times. As for how much power the demon abyss has preserved, it is unknown. Qin Shujian looked at everyone and slowly said, "The demon abyss is now approaching heaven and earth. According to my calculations, in less than 100 years, the demon abyss will completely descend on the Great Thousand World. At that time, the ancient great calamity of the demon abyss will reappear. This is an unavoidable calamity. No one can escape. Now that the power of heaven and earth has awakened, whichever race occupies more power of heaven and earth will be able to produce more powerhouses. At that time, they will have a higher chance of winning against the demon abyss. However, now that true immortals have been born, if the various races start a war to fight for the power of heaven and earth, there will definitely be true immortals. When the war starts, the casualties will inevitably be too heavy. If a true immortal accidentally falls, it will be a loss for the four continents. Therefore, the purpose of Ben Huang gathering everyone here is to fight for the power of heaven and earth and open up the 10,000 races battlefield. In the East City, Qin Shujian's voice spread clearly. No one dared to interject. It was not until he finished speaking that an emperor of a race spoke. What does Emperor Qin mean by the 10,000 races battlefield? It's very simple. Ben Huang wants to combine the power of all the true immortals and open up the 10,000 races battlefield on the four continents. The various races will occupy a corresponding place in the 10,000 races battlefield based on their current territories. Then, the cultivators of the various races will fight and fight. Any city or territory that is conquered in the 10,000 races battlefield must give up a corresponding area in the four continents. However, there is a condition. The true immortals of the various races cannot interfere in the 10,000 races battlefield. Otherwise, there will be no point in opening up the 10,000 races battlefield. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone's expression changed in different ways. It was not difficult to understand the meaning of Qin Shujian's words. To put it bluntly, the 10,000 races battlefield was a miniature version of the four continents. The various races would send in their troops to fight and fight. The benefits of this approach were obvious. It was not a real war between races. Even if a race was defeated, the losses would be much smaller than when a real war broke out. More importantly, without the intervention of true immortals, the various races could also use this method to train their troops. War. It had always been the fastest way to produce powerhouses. After a long while, the Emperor of Pasan said in a deep voice, "There's no problem in opening up the 10,000 races battlefield. But if a race is defeated and is unwilling to give up their territory, what should we do then? If a race dares to do so, we'll just send troops to attack and destroy them." An emperor of a race sneered and replied, "If we do that, what's the difference between opening up the 10,000 races battlefield or not?" In response, the Emperor of Pasan frowned and looked at Qin Shujian. Since the 10,000 races battlefield was opened up, that was already clear. The various races could not really fight to the death. Moreover, when it came to a life-and-death battle, the final trump card of each race could cause a great impact. In the Emperor of Passion's opinion, the great calamity of the demonic abyss was about to arrive. It was indeed not appropriate for the various races to lose too many high-end combat forces. Qin Shujian said, "These things are not a problem. If the various races are willing to swear an oath, it can be solved directly. I believe that with the punishment of the Thunder Tribulation, no one will dare to go back on their word." Nothing was more useful than the Oath of the Rules. If there was, that was to swear an Oath of the Rules twice. At least, so far, Qin Shujian had not seen anyone who could withstand the Thunder Tribulation without dying. He had also asked Xiao Chengfeng in private once. The other party's answer was that if they really attracted a powerful Thunder Tribulation, then even a 9th-level immortal would not be able to resist it. The only ones who could resist the Thunder Tribulation were. There were only a few mysterious existences above the half-step nomological realm. With the current strength of the 4 continents, there were no true immortals in the middle 3 levels, let alone those above the half-step rules. As soon as he finished speaking, the Demon Emperor, who had been silent for a long time, spoke at this time. "It's okay to open up the battlefield, and it's not a problem to swear an Oath of the Rules, but Ben Huang has something to add." "Demon Emperor, feel free to speak." Apart from the true immortals who can't participate, the emperors of the various races can't participate either. Otherwise, it would be breaking the rules. The Demon Emperor said indifferently. Hearing this, the expressions of many emperors of the various races changed slightly. These powerhouses had not broken through to the true immortal realm. If that was the case, the strength of their races would decline. Immediately, someone objected, "Demon Emperor, what you said is a bit wrong. We haven't broken through to the true immortal realm. Even if we take action, the impact won't be great. If you want to restrict us, it's too unreasonable." Humph. If all cultivators below the true immortal realm can participate in the battle, who do you think can be a match for Emperor Qin? The Demon Emperor sneered, his eyes full of disdain for these emperors. He made this request not because he was afraid of these 10th-level celestial being and Nirvana realm emperors. What he was really afraid of was Emperor Qin of the human clan. He was not a true immortal, but he was stronger than a true immortal. Even the Demon Emperor himself was not confident in dealing with such a powerful force. If all cultivators below the true immortal realm could participate in the battle, then there was no need for the myriad races to play. The human clan could sweep the entire battlefield with just Emperor Qin alone. When that time came, it would be equivalent to making a wedding dress for the human clan. Hearing this, the expressions of those emperors who spoke against it changed drastically at this moment. That's right. They almost forgot that Emperor Qin of the human clan was not a true immortal yet. Thinking of this, the emperors of the various races looked at Qin Shujian with strange gazes. He was not a true immortal, but he was stronger than an ordinary true immortal. This could be considered the first powerhouse born in the 4 continents in a million years. Sensing the fearful gazes of the various races, Qin Shujian said with a faint smile, "Ben Huang has no objections to the Demon Emperor's words. In that case, let's add another rule. All true immortals and the emperors of the various races are not allowed to participate in the battle. This is to prevent the emperors from lowering their status and doing those despicable things. Apart from that, let's add one more rule. All the cultivators who participate in the meeting of the myriad races today are not allowed to sell in the battlefield. They will only be punished by the Thunder Tribulation and will not rest until they are dead." The Demon Clan has no problem. The Demon Emperor narrowed his eyes slightly and then recovered. Opening the battlefield, he actually did not have any objections in his heart. If he wanted to repair the Heavenly Demon Temple, he would need a large amount of blood essence. Since the battlefield of the foreign races had opened, there would definitely be a lot of blood essence there. The Demon Clan could use this opportunity to repair this damaged Zubing. Therefore, from the beginning to the end, the Demon Emperor had never thought of rejecting Qin Shujian's suggestion. What he was really worried about was the Qin Emperor would personally enter the battlefield. In that case, the power of heaven and earth would belong to the human clan. After the demon emperor spoke, Shueling Huang smiled and said, Shui Eldar has no objections, but how does Emperor Qin plan to open up the battlefield? If it's just opening up a small world, it will be difficult to accommodate too many cultivators. Since Shueling Huang has asked, Bin Huang will not hide it. Qin Shujian said calmly, Bin Huang wants to forge a divine weapon as a carrier of the battlefield. However, it is not easy to forge a divine weapon. After all, Bin Huang has not attained the Tao and become an immortal. His strength alone is limited. Therefore, Bin Huang hopes that all the emperors of the various races can help and forge this shocking divine weapon together. Shocking divine weapon. Hearing these words, everyone's eyes lit up. Everyone knew. Qin Shujian was already known as the #1 forger of the human clan when he created the Heaven List. Since the ancient times, the first 8-seal Tao artifact was made by him. At this moment, Qin Shujian was going to forge a divine weapon. It was obvious that it must be an extremely powerful divine weapon. After all, this divine weapon was going to be the carrier of the battlefield, so its grade couldn't be too low. The Moon Emperor spoke at this time with a gentle voice. Bin Huang wants to ask, if the divine weapon is forged, who will own it? The divine weapon has no owner. It is the foundation of the battlefield. Qin Shujian shook his head slightly. As soon as he finished, an emperor said, as the person who forged the divine weapon, if you want to recognize the owner halfway, we won't be able to detect it. Bin Huang can swear an oath to never touch the divine weapon. Qin Shujian said lightly. The demon emperor shook his head. Not only Emperor Qin, but also the human clan can't secretly touch this divine weapon. Okay. Qin Shujian agreed readily, then smiled and said, but since you've said this, then Bin Huang should be more direct. All the clans should also swear an oath to not touch the divine weapon. After all, this is not just a matter of the human clan. There's no reason for Bin Huang to swear an oath. Hearing this, the demon emperor was silent for a while, then finally nodded. Okay. The Broken Mountain clan has no problem. The Star clan has no problem. The Moon clan has no problem. The Golden Rock clan has no problem. The Blood Eldar, the emperors of the various clans nodded and agreed to this matter. The matter of the battlefield. After Qin Shujian opened his mouth, not many people wanted to object to it. In the eyes of those small clans, their biggest weakness was that they didn't have true immortals or Nirvana realm experts. If they really wanted to fight for the power of heaven and earth, these small clans had no chance of winning at all. Therefore, the opening of the battlefield restricted true immortals and emperors from interfering. For these small clans, it was a good thing. The difference between a small clan and a big clan. It was mainly in terms of high-end combat strength. Other than this point, as for the other powers, there wasn't much of a difference. At most, there would be a difference of a few more almighties. As for those big clans, they also knew that the great calamity of the demonic abyss was the main problem. If they arbitrarily started a war, no one would be able to protect themselves under the surging momentum. Moreover, the human clan was too strong now. If a war really broke out, there was almost no force that could contend against the human clan. As for joining forces, it would also be troublesome. Therefore, these big clans had never thought of opposing the opening of the battlefield. The remaining small number of emperors of the race. Although they had thoughts in their hearts and wanted to oppose the opening of the battlefield, but now, the majority of the races had already agreed. Under the influence of such a great power, anyone who dared to oppose would be crushed by the great power. They didn't want to die. If they didn't want to be ostracized, they could only agree. After obtaining the agreement of the various clans, a smile appeared on Qin Shujian's face as he said, since everyone has agreed, then let's make the oath. As soon as he finished speaking, he took the lead to swear an oath. Seeing this, the emperors of the other clans also swore an oath. After the oath was sworn, the demon emperor said, if Bin Huang remembers correctly, Emperor Zhao of the human clan hasn't appeared yet. Could it be that Emperor Zhao doesn't intend to swear an oath? Hearing this, the others also reacted. The human clan had not only Emperor Qin, but also Emperor Zhao. And Emperor Zhao's strength. He could be considered the #1 powerhouse in the 4 continents. That's right. May I ask where Emperor Zhao is? Emperor Qin, just as the emperors of the various clans spoke, the destiny of the human clan shook. Then, a person walked out with a jade seal in his hand and said faintly, "When the battlefield is opened, all the emperors and true immortals of the human clan will not interfere in the matters of the battlefield. If there is a violation, the lightning tribulation will descend from the heavens, and they will not rest until they are dead." His voice was clear and spread in all directions. After he finished, the long river of destiny disappeared, and so did Emperor Zhao's figure. However, in the minds of all the emperors, they were recalling the long river of destiny of the human clan that they had just seen, and their expressions kept changing. Has the destiny of the human clan become so powerful? The demon emperor's eyes flickered. The destiny of the human clan that Emperor Zhao had just stepped on was not much weaker than that of the demon clan. However, Emperor Zhao was not the only human emperor of the human clan. The destiny of the human clan that he could control was actually only half of that of the human clan. In other words, the other half of the destiny of the human clan was in the hands of Emperor Qin. In this way, with the combination of the destinies of the two sides, the destiny of the human clan had completely surpassed that of the demon clan. The strength of a clan. Not only did it depend on the number of powerhouses on the surface, but it also depended on the strength of the destiny. Only the destiny was strong. That clan's power was truly powerful. Even if there were not enough powerhouses born now, under the cover of the prosperous destiny, there would still be powerhouses born one after another. The destiny of the human clan now. It could be said to be at its peak. It was not just the demon clan. The emperors of the other clans were also shocked by the destiny of the human clan. Such a powerful destiny. It was really extraordinary. Qin Shujian said calmly, "Emperor Zhao has already made the rule oath. There shouldn't be any objections, right? This time, to forge the divine weapon that will bear the weight of the 10,000 clans battlefield, the materials needed are not ordinary. Ben Huang has personally drafted the materials, so let the various clans gather them." After that, he simply waved his hand, and countless streams of light shot out from his sleeve, landing accurately in front of every emperor. An emperor picked up the jade talisman in front of him. After reading the information inside, his expression immediately changed. So many materials are needed to forge a divine weapon. The densely packed materials were enough to empty more than a dozen clans. It was clearly a robbery to forge a divine weapon, especially those small clans who did not have much foundation. When they saw the list of materials, their faces turned green. The emperor of the Heaven clan coughed lightly and said, "Emperor Qin, aren't there too many forging materials?" His words were considered polite. There was nothing he could do. The Heaven clan was only a small clan, and their strength could be considered to be at the bottom here. The emperor of the Heaven clan was only a cultivator at the 10th level of the celestial being realm. Even if he was angry at the list of materials, he did not dare to show the slightest bit of it. If he angered the humans, the Heaven clan would not be able to bear the consequences. Qin Shujian said, "Emperor Cong, don't misunderstand. Ben Huang doesn't have any selfish motives in this list of materials. It's to bear the weight of the divine weapon of the 10,000 clans battlefield. It's definitely not something an ordinary divine weapon can do. In the 10,000 clans battlefield, although there are no emperors or perfected immortals, there are more than hundreds of millions of cultivators from various clans participating in the battle. With so many cultivators fighting, the fluctuations caused by the battle are probably not much weaker than that of a perfected immortal. If the divine weapon isn't strong enough, how can it bear the killing of the entire 10,000 clans?" While they were talking, he paused for a moment and said seriously, "Besides, Ben Huang is the human emperor. He won't be greedy for such small materials, right?" Small materials. The other emperors looked at the materials that were enough to empty more than a dozen clans. Their expressions were very strange. However, they thought for a moment and realized that there was nothing wrong with what Qin Shujian said. After all, it was a divine weapon that bore the weight of the 10,000 clans battlefield. Naturally, they could not be careless. Moreover, Emperor Qin was also a top powerhouse of the 4 continents. He was also a reputable figure, so he would not do such a despicable thing. Thinking of this, the emperors of the various clans were also relieved. Emperor Tsang smiled apologetically and said, "Emperor Qin, don't misunderstand. Bin Huang was just asking casually. After all, the Heaven clan is only a small clan. There's really no way for them to take out so many materials." "Don't worry, Emperor Tsang. These materials are shared equally by the various clans. There are thousands of clans present, and each clan only needs to take out a portion of the materials." Qin Shujian smiled indifferently and said, "I believe that the Heaven clan's foundation is not shallow. It won't be a big problem for them to take out a portion." To this, Emperor Tsang could only smile embarrassedly. He could not reply to this. Although it seemed that each clan did not take out much when the thousands of clans were divided, that was only relative to the other big clans. For small clans like the Heaven clan, even if it was just a small portion of it, it would still cost a lot of money. After looking at it for a while, the Ice Emperor frowned and said, "There's no problem with having more materials, but won't the human clan provide any resources?" Bin Huang is the main candidate for forging the magic weapon, so the human clan naturally doesn't need to provide any materials. When has the Ice Emperor ever seen a blacksmith have to provide his own materials to forge the magic weapon? Qin Shujian asked back and then sneered. Unless this magic weapon belongs to the human clan, then there's no problem for the human clan to provide the materials. Emperor Qin, you're wrong. You can say that the emperors of the other clans will also participate, which means that you're not the only one forging the magic weapon. If the human clan doesn't provide any resources for this reason, no matter what, it doesn't make sense. The Ice Emperor did not dare to agree and retorted. If the human clan did not pay the price at all, he would also be unhappy. Qin Shujian glanced at him and sneered. Bin Huang is not talking nonsense. If Bin Huang doesn't help, none of you will be able to forge the magic weapon. As for the Ice Emperor, even if you don't help, Bin Huang will still succeed. However, if there's any problem with the magic weapon, or if it's disadvantageous to the Ice Clan in the 10,000 tribes battlefield, then you can't blame anyone. Threatening words. It was already obvious. Qin Shujian's words were very straightforward. It was fine if you didn't help forge the magic weapon, but if there was any problem with the magic weapon, it would have nothing to do with him. For such a threat, the Ice Emperor's face also darkened, but he did not say anything more. Since he had already said so much, there was no point in saying anything more. After all, this Emperor Qin was the #1 blacksmith in the 4 continents. In terms of forging skills, no one could compare to him. The Ice Emperor did not speak. Although the other emperors were somewhat dissatisfied, they could not say anything. Seeing this, Qin Shujian stood up and announced, "If there's no problem, then gather all the materials within a month. At that time, all the clans will work together to forge the magic weapon. P.S. I recommend a friend's book, The Investiture of the Great Xia. It will be published tomorrow, and it's said that it will be very popular." Chapter 670. There was no friendship between the 10,000 clans. Let's not talk about the grudges from before the ancient times. Just after the ancient times were destroyed, there were many conflicts between the various clans in the past million years. So, after the meeting of the 10,000 clans had agreed on the matter, no one stayed to catch up. They all left. However, not all of the rulers had left. There were still emperors who stayed midway. I've long heard of the great name of Qin Shujian. Seeing you today, you are indeed extraordinary. The Golden Rock Emperor's gaze fell on Qin Shui as he said seriously, "Golden Rock Emperor, you flatter me." Qin Shui smiled slightly. He did not underestimate the Golden Rock Emperor in front of him. Although the Golden Rock Emperor had not proven his Tao, but in Qin Shui's opinion, the other party might not be much weaker. He was not sure how strong the Golden Rock Emperor of the previous generation who had fallen at the hands of the Demon Emperor was, but the Golden Rock Emperor in front of him, he did not feel weak. Nirvana realm, and a half-immortal, Qin Shui thought in his heart, but he was not sure. After all, they had not really fought. He could only guess the strength of an expert based on his feelings. He could only have a rough idea. Xu Yang came to my Golden Rock race, and also expressed the intentions of the human race. Bin Huang came this time not only to attend the meeting of the 10,000 clans at Qin Emperor's invitation, but also to discuss the alliance between our two races. The Golden Rock Emperor said in a deep voice. The Shu Yang he mentioned was the Golden Rock King of the Heavenly Pattern Island. However, when he was on the Heavenly Pattern Island, Shu Yang was the strongest of the Golden Rock race, so he could be called the Golden Rock King. But in reality, in the Golden Rock Emperor's mouth, it was not appropriate to call Shu Yang the Golden Rock King. So, that was why he called out his real name. When the word alliance was mentioned, Qin Shui's expression also became serious. He stood up and said, "This is not a suitable place to talk. Golden Rock Emperor, please follow Bin Huang to the City Lord's mansion." Please, follow Bin Huang. The two of them left the venue and headed straight for the City Lord's mansion. There was no one in the City Lord's mansion. However, Qin Shujian and the Golden Rock Emperor did not care about this. The two of them sat down on either side. After sitting down, Qin Shujian didn't waste any time. He looked at the Golden Rock King and said, "This time, Bin Huang went to Shuyang to discuss an alliance with the Golden Rock race." While speaking, he paused for a moment before continuing. The Golden Rock Emperor should know that after the end of the Primordial Age, the human tribe was besieged on all sides. Most of the 10,000 tribes had grudges with the human tribe, but after 1,000,000 years, the grudges have diminished. However, there are still some races that refuse to give up on destroying the human race. The demon race is one of them, Qin Shujian said. In the past, the Golden Rock clan failed to compete with the dragons for the position of Demon Emperor, and were thus expelled from the demon race. The previous Golden Rock Emperor even fell at the hands of the previous Demon Emperor, so the grudge between the Golden Rock clan and the demon race can be said to be quite deep. If you and I work together, Bin Huang won't ask the Golden Rock clan to deal with other forces. He only wants the Golden Rock clan to suppress the Demon clan. I believe that the Golden Rock clan has been silent for 30,000 years. It shouldn't be difficult for them to do this. After Qin Shujian finished speaking, he looked at the Golden Rock Emperor with a faint smile on his face. He had already said this much. It could be said that he had laid everything out in the open. The human tribe and the Golden Rock clan had formed an alliance. The main point was the matter of the demon race. The Golden Rock Emperor pondered for a moment, then said, "It's not a problem to suppress the demon race. After a few battles with the human tribe, the demon race has also suffered heavy losses. The only two supreme saints have also fallen. The Golden Rock clan can help the human tribe suppress the demon race. If the human tribe is in trouble, our tribe will also help if it's within our ability. However, Bin Huang has a request. Golden Rock Emperor, please speak your mind. I want the human tribe to help the Golden Rock clan obtain the position of Demon Emperor and completely expel or destroy the dragons. Once the Golden Rock clan becomes the Demon Emperor of the demon race, we can also form an alliance with the human tribe forever. As long as the Golden Rock clan doesn't step down from the position of Demon Emperor, we will be allies with the human tribe." The Golden Rock Emperor said solemnly. His goal, the Demon Emperor. In the Golden Rock Emperor's opinion, what really shamed the Golden Rock clan was that they had failed to fight for the position of Demon Emperor and were expelled by the dragons. If he wanted to wash away this shame, in that case, he would have to take back the position of Demon Emperor and give them a taste of their own medicine. He would also let the Flood Dragon clan experience the same treatment as the Golden Rock clan. Hearing this, Qin Shujian said, "In the demon race, other than the dragons, the other clans are not weak. Even if the dragons are expelled, the Golden Rock clan is confident that they can suppress the other clans?" Of course. The Golden Rock Emperor smiled proudly and said with a confident expression, "Qin Shujian, don't underestimate the Golden Rock clan. Although we have lost a lot of things during the 30,000 years of sealing the secret realm, we have also gained a chance to recuperate. If the demon race's strength had not been greatly reduced, Bin Huang would not have been completely confident. But now, Bin Huang can be sure that as long as the human tribe helps us deal with the old Demon Emperor, the Golden Rock clan will be able to complete the rest. Regarding this, Qin Shujian found that he had to re-evaluate the Golden Rock clan. He originally thought that the Golden Rock clan had been silent for 30,000 years and could barely suppress the demon race, which was already very impressive. But looking at the Golden Rock Emperor, the Golden Rock clan's strength was probably much stronger than he had expected. Looking at the current situation, this was undoubtedly a good thing. The stronger his allies were, the greater the effect they could play. Although the 10,000 tribe battlefield was about to be opened, the various clans would not start too many wars. On the contrary, once the 10,000 tribe battlefield was opened successfully, that was when the real war would begin. In front of the general trend of heaven and earth, no race would let go of such an opportunity. If they wanted to fight for a chance of survival in the great tribulation of the demon abyss, they had to fight for the general trend of heaven and earth. Or else, even if they survived the great tribulation of the demon abyss, they could not survive other tribulations. In that case, our clans will officially form an alliance. Ben Huang also hopes that the human tribe can be an eternal alliance with the Golden Rock clan. Qin Shu Jian looked deeply at the Golden Rock Emperor and said lightly, "Of course." The Golden Rock Emperor also had a smile on his face. The Golden Rock clan had reappeared after 30,000 years of silence in order to regain the glory they had lost in the past. However, the Demon Emperor had already become an immortal. With the current strength of the Golden Rock clan, dealing with the Demon Emperor was undoubtedly like hitting a rock with an egg. At this moment, they had to have an expert who could fight against the Demon Emperor as an ally. In the 4 continents, only the human race had the confidence to offend the demon race and had no scruples. After thinking about it, only the human race could do it. Then, the two of them briefly discussed some matters and made an oath. This alliance was officially completed. Not long after, the Golden Rock Emperor stood up and left. The Golden Rock spread its wings. It escaped into the void. All of a sudden, the Golden Rock Emperor felt the surrounding void condense. A palm crushed down from the sky, causing his expression to change drastically. Demon Emperor. Without thinking, he counterattacked with all his might. Endless golden light burst out from the feather. In an instant, it shattered the void and turned into a torrent of vital essence that bombarded the palm. Boom! The golden light shattered, and the palm landed heavily on the Golden Rock Emperor's body. A terrifying power erupted. The Golden Rock Emperor let out a sorrowful cry. His body exploded, and countless feathers turned into dust under the effect of this terrifying power. Bang! A huge golden-winged rock smashed through the void and fell to the ground. In the air, the Golden Rock Emperor barely stabilized his body. When he looked at the void again, a true dragon had already occupied the sky. Its huge eyes were filled with a cold expression. Demon Emperor. Seeing the true dragon appear, the Golden Rock Emperor's expression instantly turned extremely ugly. He had never expected that. The Demon Emperor would ambush him at this time. I didn't expect that after the previous Golden Rock Emperor died, the Golden Rock clan would be able to produce an expert like you after 30,000 years of silence. A half-immortal is indeed powerful, but unfortunately, you appeared at the wrong time. The Demon Emperor spoke slowly, his voice like thunder. In his eyes, at this moment, the Golden Rock Emperor was no different from a corpse. Whether it was a half-immortal or a nirvana realm, as long as he had not proven his Tao and become an immortal, he would not be able to escape death. The Golden Rock Emperor's expression was ugly. Demon Emperor, I didn't expect you to disregard your status and ambush me here. The Golden Rock clan shouldn't have appeared. Since the secret realm has been sealed, then it should have been sealed. Ben Huang wouldn't have killed your Golden Rock clan, but you didn't know what was good for you. You can't blame anyone. The Demon Emperor said coldly. As soon as he finished speaking, he had already clawed at the Golden Rock Emperor. The 5 sharp claws easily turned the void into dust. Terrifying power. It made the Golden Rock Emperor's expression change. Without thinking, he turned around and fled. From the beginning to the end, the Golden Rock Emperor had never thought of fighting with the Demon Emperor because the other party was a true immortal, and he was only a half-immortal. There was a difference. The difference in strength was like heaven and earth. However, the Golden Rock Emperor had just fled when a powerful sealing force came from the surrounding void. A palace slowly descended from the sky, and the powerful pressure caused the Golden Rock Emperor's body to crack again. Heavenly Demon Temple. The moment he saw the Heavenly Demon Temple, the Golden Rock Emperor's heart turned to ashes. He was no match for a Demon Emperor. Coupled with Zhu Bing and the Heavenly Demon Temple, it was a dead end. The Demon Emperor's expression was indifferent. Bin Huang knows that the Golden Rock clan is very fast, so he specially invited the Heavenly Demon Temple to prevent you from escaping again. As for the Golden Rock Emperor, he was determined to kill him. Just as the Golden Rock Emperor was about to be completely suppressed, a blade emerged from the void and slashed fiercely at the Heavenly Demon Temple. Boom! A terrifying aftershock erupted. The Heavenly Demon Temple shook violently, and the sealing force around it was instantly disintegrated. The Demon Emperor's expression changed, and he immediately attacked without thinking. The Dragon Claw shattered the void, wanting to kill the Golden Rock Emperor on the spot. At the same time, a fist filled with Taoist rhymes emerged from the void and directly collided with the Dragon Claw. The powerful force stood up. The Demon Emperor had to stop midway. The void collapsed. Qin Shujian walked out from inside and looked at the true dragon in front of him with his hands behind his back. He smiled faintly and said, "Demon Emperor, why are you in such a hurry to attack? The Golden Rock Emperor has just participated in the conference of the clans. If you ambush him here, won't people suspect that the human race has evil intentions?" His faint smile. It made people feel that he was not facing a true immortal, but an ordinary opponent. Emperor Qin. The Demon Emperor's eyes turned completely cold. What he was most worried about had happened. The Golden Rock Emperor had delayed for so long before leaving the East City. The Demon Emperor guessed that the other party had reached some agreement with the human race. Now, he saw Qin Shujian save him. He was basically sure. The Golden Rock clan must have formed an alliance with the human race. The Demon Emperor's expression was still cold. Bin Huang is only cleaning up the remnants of the Demon clan. It has nothing to do with the human race. Emperor Qin, you'd better step aside. Unfortunately, the human race has already formed an alliance with the Golden Rock clan. There's no reason for me to step aside. Qin Shujian did not retreat half a step. On the other side, the Golden Rock Emperor had also recovered a little. Looking at Qin Shujian's back, he suddenly felt that this back was a little imposing. To be honest, this was the first time the Golden Rock Emperor had left the Golden Rock clan's secret realm. As for this Qin Emperor of the human clan, he had only heard rumors about him. Now that he saw it for real, only then did he know what level the other party's strength had reached. Today, Bin Huang will give you face. After looking at each other for a long time, the Demon Emperor finally chose to retreat. The true dragon's body wrapped around the Heavenly Demon Temple, smashed through the void, and left. He still did not fight with Qin Shujian, because he was not confident. If it was when he was seriously injuring Star Emperor, the Demon Emperor would definitely not retreat so easily. But after Qin Shujian slashed out a million-mile canyon with his saber, he already understood. The other party's strength had reached an unfathomable level. Even if he had the Heavenly Demon Temple in his hands, the Demon Emperor was not confident of defeating him. Before he had absolute confidence, he would not easily fight with Qin Shujian. It would be fine if he won. But if he lost, the reputation of the Demon Clan would fall to another level. And in the Demon Emperor's opinion, it was not worth it to fight to the death with Qin Shujian for the Golden Rock Emperor. So, the Demon Emperor retreated. He retreated very decisively. When the other party's aura completely disappeared, the Golden Rock Emperor took a deep breath and cupped his hands to thank Qin Shujian. "Thank you for saving us this time, Emperor Qin. Otherwise, the Golden Rock clan would probably have to change emperors." In the end, he also sighed. If he did not really fight with a perfected immortal, he would never understand the gap between them. The Golden Rock Emperor thought that even if there was a gap between him and the Demon Emperor, it was not to the extent that he could not fight against him. Until now, he finally understood. Before he broke through to the perfected immortal realm, he was nothing in front of the Demon Emperor. Qin Shujian smiled indifferently and said, "Golden Rock Emperor, you're too polite. Since our two clans are in an alliance, how can Bin Huang sit by and do nothing? I will definitely repay your kindness in the future. Bin Huang still needs to return to the Golden Rock clan immediately. Goodbye. The Golden Rock Emperor cupped his hands solemnly and then left. He did not ask, why did Qin Shujian come so punctually? There were some things that were not necessarily a good thing to ask too clearly. Watching the Golden Rock Emperor leave, Qin Shujian paused in the air for a few breaths, then turned around and left. When the three of them had completely left, the cultivators hiding nearby only dared to show their faces. Just now, the perfected immortal made a move. His power was not small at all. When those cultivators felt this power, they did not dare to move rashly. Then, when Qin Shujian appeared, their hearts were in their throats. They were worried that these two big shots would really fight. At that time, they would only be able to rely on the aftermath. They would be able to annihilate ordinary celestial cultivators. Fortunately, in the end, the two sides did not fight, and the great battle that they were worried about did not erupt. Walking out from the shadows, a foreign cultivator revealed an emotional expression. The Qin Emperor of the human race truly lives up to his name. Just by showing himself, he was able to scare the demon emperor away. I'm afraid there's no one else in the world who can do this. The demon emperor might not have been scared away. He just doesn't want to fight the Qin Emperor. A cultivator had a different opinion. To this, the cultivator who spoke first said, whether it's true or not, it's because the Qin Emperor is strong enough to make the demon emperor so afraid. Now, which celestial cultivator in the four great continents can do what the Qin Emperor did? Not to mention celestial cultivators, even ordinary celestial cultivators can't do it. That's true. That cultivator did not refute at this time. He nodded in agreement. It's said that Zhao Emperor is the strongest cultivator in the four great continents. In my opinion, this Qin Emperor might not be too far off. With such a top cultivator, it's no wonder that the human clan could rise in such a difficult situation. Let's all disperse. It was unknown which cultivator said this, but after that, these people all dispersed. From the beginning to the end of the conference of the myriad races, it only took half a day. But this half a day was enough for those cultivators who went to the human territory to be satisfied, because they found out. In the past, he rarely saw rulers, but in this short period of time, he saw them one after another. It could be said that a conference of the myriad races. It had gathered all the top cultivators in the four great continents. Because of this, the reputation of the human clan rose a lot. After all, it was the first time in hundreds of thousands of years that someone could gather all the cultivators of the myriad races. Even when the demon clan was strong in the past, there was no way to do this. The human clan did it. So the human clan became famous. Of course, the human clan was already very famous. Now, it was just icing on the cake. After the conference of the myriad races ended, the four great continents fell into a period of peace. However, this kind of peace was only on the surface. In fact, the various clans were secretly transferring cultivators to prepare for the upcoming battlefield of the myriad races. During this period of time, Qin Shujian stayed in the Qian Yuan realm, silently comprehending his own power rules. Before the various clans accurately gathered all the materials, he had nothing to do. Master. In the courtyard, Ningbo, who was dressed in a green robe, bowed to Qin Shujian with a sword at his waist. Compared to half a year ago, the current Ningbo's temperament had become even more outstanding. Not only that, his strength had also changed quite a bit. Qin Shujian said, "Do you have any doubts about your cultivation recently?" Looking at the disciple in front of him, he also felt a little embarrassed. Ever since he took in a disciple, he basically didn't pay much attention to him. Last time, he found out about Ningbo. It was when the other party was trapped in the secret realm and Gong Mingze came to ask for help that Qin Shujian sent Ji Zhou and Wu Shan to save him. Ever since then, he didn't ask about this disciple. In fact, Qin Shujian almost forgot about the existence of this disciple. It wasn't until recently that he was completely free that he thought of this matter. Thinking of this, Qin Shujian also secretly said in his heart, dereliction of duty. Ningyu straightened up and spoke with the same respectful attitude as before. I do have some doubts during this period of cultivation. Tell me, Bin Huang has time to explain it to you. Thank you, master. Ningbo was overjoyed and didn't pretend to be pretentious. He directly told him all his questions. After devouring the Taoist's spiritual deity, his strength had also improved by leaps and bounds. In less than a year, he had already broken through to the spirit martial realm. Such progress, it could be said to be a leap in growth. Similarly, the skyrocketing realm also caused Ningbo to have many problems in cultivation. These problems, he originally planned to polish and suppress his realm by himself, and then solve them bit by bit. But now his master was willing to answer. It undoubtedly saved him a lot of effort. On the other side, Qin Shujian basically answered all of Ningbo's questions. In his opinion, the cultivation of the spirit martial realm was no different from a child learning to speak. In terms of his current realm, the difficulty was equal to 0, so there was no difficulty in answering. Every time Qin Shujian answered, Ningbo would be lost in thought. After a long time, when he fully understood, he would ask the next question. For this, Qin Shujian was not impatient. Instead, he waited for the other party to digest slowly. I didn't expect that there would be a day when I would seriously teach and solve doubts. Looking at the disciple in front of him, he was quite emotional in his heart. Most of the day passed. After the last question was answered, Ningbo bowed and said gratefully, "Thank you, Master, for answering my doubts and enlightening me. It's not easy for you to cultivate to such a level in such a short period of time. Although the realm is important, your own foundation can't be ignored. Let Bin Huang see how strong you are now." Qin Shujian picked up the teacup, took a sip, and said calmly. Hearing this, Ningbo took a step back, looked at Qin Shujian and said solemnly, "Please give me some advice, master." This was the result he wanted the most. After going out to experience for so long, he had many fights with his peers. But fighting with his peers, how could it compare to the effect of having his own master personally instruct him? You know, his master was already one of the top powerhouses of the human clan. Even in the 4 great continents, there weren't many people who were his match. Until now, Ningbo was no longer the boy in the past. His vision had been broadened a lot. But the more he knew how terrifying his master was. It was different from Ningbo's seriousness. Qin Shujian was as calm as ever. "Make your move." Hearing this, Ningbo didn't answer. His right hand had quietly held the hilt of the sword. He held his breath. The essence, qi, and spirit of his whole body were restrained to the extreme at this moment. And when his essence, qi, and spirit were completely restrained, it was a pure thought, but it was born from nothing. Sword intent. The long sword moved slightly, and there was already a sword sound. The next moment, Ningbo's wrist moved slightly, and the long sword suddenly broke away from the sheath. The sword light poured out like a waterfall, turning into a shocking sword and stabbing at Qin Shujian. This sword, it was the best sword he had ever made. The sword light was like a waterfall, as fast as thunder. But this extremely fast sword had no effect in front of Qin Shujian. He only stretched out the hand holding the teacup. A soft sound was heard. All the sword light anomalies disappeared. Only the tip of the sword accurately pierced the teacup and couldn't move an inch. Not only that, a rebounding force came back from the sword, shaking Ningbo a few meters away. But when he was about to land, he somersaulted in the air and barely stabilized his body. He put the sword back into the sheath. Ningbo said respectfully, "Master, please give me some advice." He was used to the fact that his sword had no effect, and he didn't feel the slightest fluctuation in his heart. Qin Shujian put down the teacup and said in a low voice, "Your sword strike is already outstanding among those of the same level. However, there are some problems with your sword strike. You are unable to perfectly unleash the might of your sword strike. Today, I will teach you a sword strike technique." After that, he directly reached out and pointed forward. Ningbo stood there in a daze. After a while, Ningbo woke up from the daze. Without waiting for him to speak, Qin Shujian suddenly stood up, and casually took out a withered branch from somewhere. "And that sword move of yours was left behind by a celestial cultivator," he said faintly. "It's enough for you to use it with your current strength. But since you are Bun Huang's disciple, I'll teach you another sword technique. How much you can comprehend depends on you." Hearing this, Ningbo's spirit suddenly shook, and he didn't dare to be distracted. He focused all his attention on Qin Shujian. In the courtyard, Qin Shujian used the withered branch as a sword and made a simple sword-drawing action. This process was neither fast nor slow, but in Ningbo's eyes, Qin Shujian's sword-drawing action was infinitely mysterious. When he withdrew the sword, all the aura was restrained, like a withered tree. The moment he drew the sword, all the sharpness was revealed. A simple withered branch, in Ningbo's eyes, was enough to split heaven and earth, and divide heaven and earth into yin and yang. A mysterious feeling rose from the bottom of his heart. "It seems that you have some comprehension." Qin Shujian threw away the withered branch and looked at his disciple who was standing there in a daze. His eyes were completely absent-minded, and there was a relieved smile on his face. To be honest, he didn't know any powerful sword techniques. But the problem was, at his level, his every move was in harmony with heaven and earth, and a simple punch or kick was enough to suppress mountains and rivers. It could be said that Qin Shujian's every move was equivalent to a peerless martial art technique. It was just that it wasn't easy for others to comprehend it, just like his simple sword-drawing action just now. In fact, it was already more profound than many profound martial arts. Ningbo could comprehend something from it, which proved that his talent was indeed very strong. A day and a night passed. Ningbo didn't move at all. It wasn't until the sun was high in the sky that her absent-minded eyes regained focus. Finally, her gaze fell on Qin Shujian. "Master, don't say much. Go back and rest." "Yes, master." Ningbo bowed and left. He also knew that he had spent a lot of energy comprehending for a day and a night. At this time, he indeed needed to go back and rest. When Ningbo left, Qin Shujian also got up. But the place he went, it was the Xiao Mansion. The Xiao Mansion. Xiao Chengfeng skillfully poured a cup of tea for Qin Shujian and said with a faint smile, "What is the purpose of your visit this time? Can't Ben Huang come if he has nothing to do?" "If he doesn't have anything to do, he really hasn't come here," Xiao Chengfeng sneered. In his view, Qin Shujian wouldn't come to the Xiao Mansion if he didn't have anything to do. He might not even step out of his own small courtyard. After spending so much time together, Xiao Chengfeng felt that he had seen through Qin Shujian a lot. This Qin Emperor, he was a person who wouldn't wake up early if there were no benefits. After being seen through by Xiao Chengfeng, Qin Shujian didn't look embarrassed at all. He said with a smile, "Brother Xiao, you're really good at judging people. Ben Huang came here this time to talk to you about two things, one official and one personal." "Then let's talk about official matters." Xiao Chengfeng picked up the teacup and took a sip. Qin Shujian said, "Brother Xiao, you should have received some news about the meeting of the 10,000 clans. Now, all the clans have made an oath that the emperors and true immortals of all the clans are not allowed to fight in the battlefield. You also know that there are very few heavenly beings in the human race, and experts above the 7th level of the heavenly being are even rarer. Compared to the 10,000 clans, we really don't have any advantage. Moreover, the opening of the battlefield is to fight for the general trend of the world. When the time comes, the various clans will definitely target the human race. With the current strength of the human race, it's very difficult to fight against the various clans at the heavenly being level." "So, you want me to fight?" Xiao Chengfeng raised his eyebrows. Qin Shujian chuckled and said, "Brother Xiao, you're also a member of the human race, and the battlefield concerns the future of the human race. I believe you won't refuse. Moreover, if Brother Xiao fights, I'm afraid there won't be many heavenly beings in the 10,000 clans who can resist you. In this way, our human race will be able to sweep through the 10,000 races battlefield." Xiao Chengfeng's combat power was more than 80,000. He had already reached the half-immortal level. Moreover, he was only at the 7th level of the heavenly being level. If he broke through to the 8th level of the heavenly being level, no one on the battlefield would be his match. When that time comes, just like when Qin Shujian dealt with the 200 mighty figures of the 10,000 clans outside the human territory, it was like chopping melons and vegetables. This was also why. The reason he dared to make an oath. It was enough for the human race to have Xiao Chengfeng as their trump card. Hearing that, Xiao Chengfeng did not refuse, but he did not agree either. I have no problem with fighting, but you have to think carefully, Emperor Qin. If the human race really wants to sweep through the battlefield and seize the general trend of the world, the other clans will probably flip the chessboard. When that time comes, a war between the 10,000 clans will break out again. With the current strength of the human race, it is impossible to resist if all the clans attack. Unless, Emperor Qin, you can become an immortal. Perhaps there is a possibility of turning the tide. Although Xiao Chengfeng did not participate in the meeting of the 10,000 clans, he did not get involved in the affairs of the human race. But in reality, he sat in the Qianyuan realm and knew about the world. In the past, when he was the Marquis of Baiyun, he had cultivated a lot of subordinates. Now, these people were constantly providing information for the Xiao family. Therefore, Xiao Chengfeng had a thorough understanding of the situation of the 10,000 clans. The other party's concerns. Qin Shujian was also very clear. Binhuang does not need Brother Xiao to really sweep through the battlefield. It is enough as long as you guard the human race and ensure that the human territory is not lost at all. The rest of the expansion of the territory will be left to others. How much we can get will depend on the strength of the human race. Qin Shujian did not want the 10,000 clans to flip the table so quickly. The opening of the battlefield. It was a way to buffer. With his current strength, he was not afraid of most perfected immortals. However, the premise was that it was a one-on-one battle. If all the perfected immortals swarmed forward, not to mention 200,000 combat power, even 300,000 combat power would have to kneel. After all, if the perfected immortals could not defeat him, they would self-destruct. The power of a perfected immortal's self-destruction completely exceeded his own strength. Qin Shujian secretly estimated, if a sealed perfected immortal self-destructed, he would have no problem withstanding it. However, if a perfected immortal self-destructed at his peak, he might end up seriously injured. In other words, if he really caused the 10,000 clans to flip the table, he and Emperor Zhao would be crushed no matter how strong they were. Therefore, Qin Shujian had never thought of forcing the 10,000 clans into a dead end. At least before he was strong enough, he was not prepared to do so. According to his estimation, if he wanted to truly not be afraid of the 10,000 clans, even if he broke through to the 10th level of the heaven-human realm, he might not be able to do it. However, as Xiao Chengfeng said, if he were to become an immortal, then there would not be a problem. In other words, before he became an immortal, Qin Shujian planned to take it easy. He wanted to fight for benefits for the human race and also for the 10,000 clans. Xiao Chengfeng, who was at the side, shook his head and said, "It seems that you have a plan. If that's the case, I have nothing to say." He was a human. This was undeniable. Xiao Chengfeng did not mind fighting for the human race when the battlefield was opened. Therefore, from the beginning to the end, he had never thought of refusing. Now that we're done talking about official matters, what is the private matter that you're talking about? Seeing this, Qin Shujian also became serious and said in a deep voice, "Brother Xiao, you were immortal Lord Haotsong in your previous life. Have you heard of the Chasers?" Chasers. Immortal Lord Haotsong's expression changed slightly. He looked at Qin Shujian with a serious gaze. "Where did you hear of the Chasers?" "No. Could it be that you've received the inheritance of the Chasers?" "Yes, only the inheritance of the Chasers can be so mysterious and allow your strength to reach such a terrifying level." Towards the end, Xiao Chengfeng nodded in agreement. Seeing his reaction, Qin Shujian also revealed a grave expression as he asked, "That means that Brother Xiao does indeed know of the Chaser's existence. May I ask if the Chaser is a person or a faction? What is their background?" He had asked so many people. Only Xiao Chengfeng in front of him knew about the Chasers. Regarding this, Qin Shujian couldn't say for sure what he was feeling right now. Ever since he got the Dharma Eye, he had a hunch that the Chasers must be related to a powerful inheritance, or even a big secret. Qin Shujian did not mean anything else. He simply wanted to find out what kind of existence the chasers were. They left such an inheritance. What was their purpose? Chapter 671. The pursuer came from a long time ago, probably from ancient times. Back then, Emperor Xia had received the pursuer's inheritance and finally rose from nothing, growing from an ordinary human to the human emperor. Emperor Xia even guessed that the pursuer should be a powerhouse, an honorable title of a powerhouse above the rules. Xiao Chengfeng said in a low voice. Hearing that, Qin Shujian looked puzzled. Didn't they say that there has never been an existence above the rules in the world? It hasn't been, we just haven't discovered it. That level of existence may have transcended everything, and it's not something we can understand. Moreover, the world has been around for trillions of years. If the existence above the rules also has a lifespan limit, it should have turned into dust. However, one thing I'm sure of is that the pursuer is just an honorable title and not the real name of that powerhouse. As for more information, I'm not sure. Xiao Chengfeng said. He did not know much about the pursuer. However, he was sure that the pursuer must be in existence above the rules, because he was already a 9th-level immortal at his peak. It was not just him. Emperor Xia was also an 8th-level immortal at his peak. If the pursuer was only a 9th-level immortal, the inheritance left behind would no longer be a secret. However, in reality, even at his peak, Emperor Xia still could not fully comprehend the inheritance left behind by the pursuer. Therefore, Xiao Chengfeng was sure that the pursuer was definitely in existence above the 9th-level immortal. That realm was above the rules. The topic went around in circles and finally returned to the level above the rules. Qin Shujian frowned and said, I've heard people say that to reach above the rules, one must transcend the restrictions of the mother stream. Is that true? Slayer God must have told you about this. Xiao Chengfeng smiled slightly. Then, he shook his head. Actually, there is such a saying. Many true immortals think that the mother stream of rules made us what we are, but it also binds us. To reach above the rules, one must transcend the restrictions of the mother stream of rules. Once one's cultivation is above the mother stream of rules, one can transcend all rules and become an existence above the rules. At this point, Xiao Chengfeng thought for a moment, then continued. But there is another saying. If you can master all the laws in the world, then at that moment, you can become an existence above the laws. But no matter which path it is, at least as far as I know, no one has ever succeeded. Because the mother stream is vast and boundless, no one has ever truly explored the boundary of the mother stream. Moreover, there's no distinction between up and down. Perhaps you think you're going upstream, but you're actually going downwards. You think you're going left, but you're actually going right. Moreover, a spiritual god entering the mother stream of laws consumes a lot of energy and is not enough to support the exploration of the mother stream. If the real body enters the mother stream of laws, there will be endless dangers. As for the second method, it is even more difficult. The Qin Emperor is currently walking on the path of 4 laws. He should be able to understand how difficult each step forward is. If 4 laws were already like this, then the laws of heaven and earth would be difficult to comprehend. There were far more than tens of thousands of them. The lifespan of a true immortal is only 129,600 years. Who could truly master all the laws? Xiao Chengfeng said slowly. Aside, Qin Shujian was also lost in thought. Indeed, it was extremely difficult to break through the laws of heaven and earth using these 2 methods. Especially the last one. The difficulty was unimaginably great. Subsequently, he thought of another question. Will there be a difference in strength between using 2 different methods to break through the laws of heaven and earth? Then I don't know. Xiao Chengfeng shook his head and laughed. We haven't even touched the laws of heaven and earth. How could we consider so many things? Ben Huang was too rash. Qin Shujian also knew that he had misspoken. After a brief answer, Lin Mingya said. His burning gaze fell on Xiao Chengfeng. He said, if it were Brother Xiao, which path would you take? Qin Emperor, it's not very polite to ask someone else's path. Xiao Chengfeng glanced at him. However, He did not get angry. Instead, he said seriously, I want to take the first path. In fact, all the cultivators who have reached the 9th level of Immortal have taken the first path. The path of 10,000 Dao into one is just a guess. Therefore, the path that really has hope is still the path of Dao supremacy. Path of Dao supremacy. Using one's own strength to open up a supreme path of laws and directly reach the level of surpassing the mother stream of laws. However, it was also very difficult to reach this step. Speaking of which, Xiao Chengfeng suddenly smiled and said, How about it, Qin Emperor? Are you interested in taking a walk in the mother stream of laws? Take a walk together? Qin Shujian was stunned. He knew about entering the mother stream of laws. However, to go in together, he had never heard of such a thing. Xiao Chengfeng said, Actually, the mother stream of laws can bring cultivators in. Cultivators who have reached the level of true immortals can use their real bodies to bring in the consciousness of other cultivators and help them understand the laws of heaven and earth. If one has not reached the level of true immortals and wants to bring others in, they need the support of a powerful spirit god. However, in my opinion, Qin Emperor's spirit god is powerful enough to do this. The reason why you can't is because you lack some skills. After that, he placed a jade stone in front of Qin Shujian. Looking at the jade stone in front of him, Qin Shujian did not decline and directly read the information inside. After a long while, only then did he absorb and digest all the information. Looking back at the memory in his mind, Qin Shujian sighed. I didn't expect there to be such a wonderful method to bring cultivators to tour the mother stream of laws. If this is the case, I'm afraid it won't be difficult for other cultivators in the 3rd level of the celestial being to break through to the saint realm. From the 3rd level of the celestial being to the 4th level of the celestial being, the biggest difference was whether one had touched the laws or not. Some cultivators in the 3rd level of the celestial being had enough foundation, but because they could not touch the existence of the laws, they were stuck in the original realm. Therefore, if someone could lead a cultivator in the 3rd level of the celestial being to walk through the mother stream of laws, then the gap from the 3rd level of the celestial being to the 4th level of the celestial being would not be difficult. Xiao Chengfeng said, Actually, in ancient times, the gap between the 3rd level of the celestial being and the 4th level of the celestial being was not that big. As long as someone could find a cultivator who was willing to lead him through the mother stream of laws, then breaking through to the 4th level of the celestial being would be an easy task. Hearing this, Qin Shujian did not comment. Just like what Xiao Chengfeng said, to be able to lead someone through the mother stream of laws, it was either a cultivator in the celestial being path like him, or a true immortal. Under normal circumstances, how could it be an easy task to invite such a powerhouse? Qin Shi Huang, are you willing to follow me? Why not? The two of them looked at each other and separated a trace of their divine sense, and finally escaped into the void. In the vast mother stream, Qin Shujian and Xiao Chengfeng appeared here. Compared to the mother stream that could not be seen clearly, and the mother stream of laws that were hundreds of feet wide and had an unknown length, the two of them were as insignificant as ants. The mother stream of laws is really a magical means of the Creator. Every time I enter here, I can't help but be shocked by its vastness. Xiao Chengfeng looked at everything around him with an inexplicable expression. For him, for others, it was the same. Qin Shujian said, Brother Xiao, what is your purpose for letting me in? There is no purpose. I just want to bring you to see something. Xiao Chengfeng shook his head. Then, like a fish, he swam freely in the mother stream of laws. Although Qin Shujian had doubts in his heart, he did not hesitate too much, and left with Xiao Chengfeng. The mother stream of laws was vast, but the two of them were also extremely fast. In every instant, they could swim hundreds of miles, shuttling through the mother stream to their heart's content. Both of them were very powerful. Although the spirit god would consume energy every moment when entering the mother stream of laws, such consumption was insignificant to them, and would not affect them much in a short period of time. Qin Shujian did not know what Xiao Chengfeng's purpose was, but he had no objection to swimming in the mother stream of laws, because he also wanted to explore the mysteries of the mother stream of laws. Just like in the past, Qin Shujian had also traveled in the mother stream of laws many times, but most of the time, he did not encounter anything, and in the end, he left it at that. After an unknown amount of time, the mother stream of laws passed by. In the end, the two of them stopped in front of a vast mother stream of laws. The mother stream of laws in front of them was very wide. It was more than 100 feet wide, and much more powerful than the power rule that Qin Shujian had comprehended himself. This pale yellow mother stream of laws. It flowed quietly in the mother stream. The moment he saw this mother stream of laws, Qin Shujian felt a sense of familiarity. This is the human emperor's rule. In an instant, he thought of the origin of the mother stream of laws. Hearing that, Xiao Chengfeng nodded and said, "That's right, this is the mother stream of laws." While they were talking, he pointed at the human emperor's rule in front of them and said in a deep voice, "Emperor Qin, you can see that the human emperor's rule in front of you, the front half is solid, while the back half is illusory. The solid half of the mother stream of laws proves that there is a path to go. The illusory mother stream of laws in the back half shows that the path ahead is illusory, and it is just a reflection of the moon in the water, and there is no possibility of going forward. If you want to go further, you must open up the path ahead yourself and enrich that half of the illusory mother stream of laws." Xiao Chengfeng's words. It was a little strange. However, Qin Shujian, on the other hand, understood what he meant. Because half of the human emperor's rule was cut off by Emperor Xia, this half of the mother stream of laws is incomplete. "That's right." Xiao Chengfeng nodded in relief and said, "The rule comes from heaven and earth. No matter how broken it is, there will still be its existence left in the mother stream. But the difference is, some mother streams of laws are complete, and some are like reflections of the moon in the water, visible but untouchable. From the looks of it, the human emperor's rule is almost half broken, but the human emperor's rule is vast. Even if it is only half, it is not comparable to ordinary rules. If there is a human talent in the future who walks the human emperor's rule again and continues this rule, then the human emperor's rule will become complete." Xiao Chengfeng said. Qin Shujian was deep in thought. After that, Xiao Chengfeng left the human emperor's rule and swam to other places. Qin Shujian took a deep look at the human emperor's rule. He did not stay and continued to follow Xiao Chengfeng, looking at the human emperor's rule once, as well as what Xiao Chengfeng said. In his heart, there were some inexplicable insights. These insights, if he could digest them in the future, it would be of great use. Until now, Qin Shujian roughly understood the reason why Xiao Chengfeng wanted to enter the mother stream of laws with him. Dao prediction. Another type of Dao prediction. The other party used the vision and knowledge of the vast immortal Lord in his previous life to give him a deeper understanding of the rule, leaving the human emperor's rule. The two of them wandered in the mother stream for a long time. Finally, rumble. The surging river water was like thunder, and it made Qin Shujian's heart tremble. "We're here." Xiao Chengfeng's voice rang in his ears. Immediately, the two of them came in front of a long river of laws. Rather than a long river, it was more like a big river. No, although it was called a big river, in Qin Shujian's eyes, the long river of laws in front of him was even more vast than the sea. It was different from other long rivers of laws. The long river of laws in front of him was more than 10,000 feet wide, and the river water was like a hanging waterfall, falling vertically from the mother stream. There was no end in sight. There was no end in sight. Only the surging river water made a deafening sound. What kind of rule is this? Qin Shujian's expression changed drastically. Among all the long rivers of laws he had seen, there was no rule that could be compared to the long river of laws in front of him. No, there was no way to compare. Even if it was 1/10, there was no way to reach it. Perhaps the human emperor's rule that he had seen before, when it was complete, had a chance to reach 1/10 of the long river of laws in front of him. But after it was broken, there was no possibility at all. Moreover, the water of the other long rivers of laws flowed quietly, and it would never be as turbulent as the long river in front of him. Qin Shujian even felt that if a true immortal entered here, he would be instantly overturned by the long river's waves and then drowned directly. It was hard for him to imagine. What kind of former could have such a terrifying rule? Very soon, Qin Shujian thought of something and turned to look at Xiao Chengfeng. Could this be the rule that immortal Haotsong walked? Xiao Chengfeng brought him here. Then the rule in front of him was very likely to be the rule that immortal Haotsong walked. Hearing that, Xiao Chengfeng shook his head. The path that a level 9 immortal walked cannot be so powerful. Even at the peak of my previous life, there was no way to reach such a level. Then, this is the rule that the Emperor of Heaven walked. How is it? Do you have any insights? Xiao Chengfeng said with a faint smile. The rule that the Emperor of Heaven walked. Qin Shujian's pupils constricted slightly, then his perception fell on the long river of laws, but it was instantly swallowed by the river water, causing his originally solid body to suddenly become illusory. So powerful. After taking a deep breath, Qin Shujian shook his head and said, "It's not easy to comprehend such a rule." Of course. Xiao Chengfeng retracted his gaze from Qin Shujian and finally looked at the rule that seemed to run through the mother stream. His face was filled with emotions. If we were to talk about who had the most hope to break through above the rule in ancient times, it would be the Emperor of Heaven. The long river of laws in front of us is also the existence that is closest to the mother stream. As he spoke, he pointed at the long river of laws and said, "If there is a cultivator who can climb along the mother stream, then there is hope to reach above the rule. But to do so, it is very difficult." "But, Qin Emperor, do you plan to go and take a look with me?" In the face of Xiao Chengfeng's invitation, Qin Shujian naturally had no reason to reject. "Why not?" "All right." Xiao Chengfeng laughed, and in the next moment, he followed the Emperor of Heaven's rule and wandered upward. Qin Shujian did not fall behind and walked side by side with him. As for the Emperor of Heaven's rule in front of them, Qin Shujian was also very curious. He also wanted to take a look. It was rumored that in ancient times, the strongest person who was closest to above the rule, how far did he go? At the same time, Qin Shujian also wanted to see what was at the end of the mother stream of laws. The long river of laws hung upside down. Like a waterfall, it ran through the entire mother stream of laws. Qin Shujian and Xiao Chengfeng followed the Emperor of Heaven's rule and swam upward with all their might. As time went by, the Emperor of Heaven's rule seemed to have no end. No matter how they swam, they could not see the source of the long river, nor could they reach the end of the mother stream. If my power rule could be opened to such a degree, it would be enough to be invincible. Qin Shujian wandered in pursuit of the rule while thinking in his heart. However, even if the Emperor of Heaven was so strong, he was still defeated by the hands of the demon abyss. Then the strength of the demon abyss could be seen. Brother Xiao said that there is an existence above the half-step rule in the demon abyss. I wonder if there is only one or there are many. I'm not sure. Xiao Chengfeng shook his head. The foundation of the demon abyss is very deep, and it has a long history. Some people speculate that the demon abyss may be as old as heaven and earth, but the difference is that heaven and earth have experienced many great calamities. Even if there are experts, they have all fallen in the great calamities. For example, the demon emperor who ended the ancient times was an expert above the half-step rule. More importantly, the living beings of heaven and earth have a limit to their lifespan. Even if it is above the half-step rule, there is still no way to live forever. On the contrary, the demons of the demon abyss are almost immortal. So seriously speaking, the foundation of the demon abyss is much deeper than heaven and earth. However, there was one thing worth rejoicing over. Demons are born as celestial beings and have a long lifespan, but it is extremely difficult for demons to improve on their original foundation. If not for this, heaven and earth would have been destroyed during the great calamity of the ancient demon abyss, and there would not be a chance to breathe. Speaking of the demon abyss, Xiao Chengfeng's tone was solemn. In his previous life, he died in the demon abyss, so he had a good understanding of the strength of the demon abyss. But the more he understood, the more he feared the demon abyss. The foundation of such a race was really too strong. In other words, the demon abyss has at least one expert above the half-step rule, and may even have more experts above the half-step rule. Qin Shujian nodded slightly. Regarding this, he did not feel much pressure. After all, it did not matter if there was one or a few above the half-step rule. The difference was not big. If he could grow to the point where he could deal with those above the half-step rule, then, whether it was one or a few, there was hope for him to defeat them. But if he could not defeat them, then, even if there was one above the half-step rule, it was enough to defeat the human race. Then, Qin Shujian said, "Brother Xiao, why did you kill your way into the demon abyss in your previous life?" He was very curious. With immortal Lord Haotsong's strength, if he did not kill his way into the demon abyss, he might not have died so quickly. Xiao Chengfeng shook his head. Because the demon abyss is the foundation of the demons. Only by killing my way into the demon abyss can I have a chance to completely destroy the demons. So, I entered the demon abyss alone. Unfortunately, the demon abyss is really strong. Even if I have reached the 9th heaven immortal realm, I still have no way to destroy the demons. The demon abyss is the foundation of the demons. Qin Shujian's eyes flickered, and he said in a low voice, "So, you know the real way to destroy the demons?" While the two were talking, they had already followed the Emperor of Heaven's rules and walked a long distance. However, now, Qin Shujian's mind was not completely on the Emperor of Heaven's rules, but also on what Xiao Chengfeng said. There were too many things he did not know. But because there were too many things, sometimes, Qin Shujian did not know where he should start asking. So, in many cases, he found out what he wanted to know through chatting with these people and occasionally touching on a certain topic. Xiao Chengfeng said, "There are two treasures in the demon abyss. One is the divine steel, the other is the demon steel. The divine steel records all the demon gods, including those powerful ancient demon gods. As for the demon steel, it records all the demons below the demon god level. According to the Emperor of Heaven's deduction, if the two demon god steels can be destroyed, then there is hope to completely destroy the demons." Divine steel, demon steel. Qin Shujian's expression changed slightly. What level of treasures are the divine steel and demon steel? How are they compared to Zubing? It is said that the two demon god steels are the top demon weapons in the demon abyss. In the past, I tried to cut the divine steel with the sky-breaking halberd, but unfortunately, I did not succeed. Xiao Chengfeng shook his head and said, "If my guess is correct, to destroy the two steels is not something an ordinary Zubing can do. Even if the sky-breaking halberd has advanced to the 5th tribulation Zubing, he may not be able to do it." From Xiao Chengfeng's words, Qin Shujian also knew the power of the two demon god steels. Even the Haotsong Immortal at his peak with the sky-breaking halberd of the 4th tribulation Zubing could not damage the divine steel. In this way, to destroy the two demon god steels, at least the 6th tribulation Zubing and above was the best result. However, every single ancestral armament's heavenly tribulation was extremely dangerous. Just like the sky-breaking halberd now, he could advance to the 5th tribulation Zubing, but it did not mean that he could advance to the 6th tribulation Zubing. The two of them talked. They wandered towards the long river of laws. After an unknown amount of time, there was still no way to see the end. In the end, the two of them had no choice but to retreat halfway. The spirit deity had just returned to the body. In the sea of consciousness, the Godslayer's voice sounded. "It's been almost a month. The things you discussed with the myriad races should be almost done." A month. Qin Shujian thought to himself, then looked at Xiao Chengfeng and said, "A lot of time has passed. Bin Huang has other things to do. So I'll take my leave first. Take care, Emperor Qin." Xiao Chengfeng nodded slightly. After Qin Shujian had completely left, the smile on his face disappeared, and a hint of doubt rose from within. He's not the reincarnation of the Emperor of Heaven. He can't really be a hero of the present age. When he saw Qin Shujian, Xiao Chengfeng had suspected whether the other party was also the reincarnation of an ancient expert. But with the other party's talent and potential, an ordinary reincarnation of a true immortal would definitely not be able to reach such a level. Therefore, he suspected that Qin Shujian was the reincarnation of the Emperor of Heaven. This time, he brought the other party into the Mother River of Laws, hoping to lead him to the Emperor of Heaven's laws and see if he could comprehend anything. But from the beginning to the end, Xiao Chengfeng did not notice anything strange about Qin Shujian. To this, he was sure that Qin Shujian did not hide anything. In this way, Xiao Chengfeng was even more puzzled. He's not the reincarnation of the Emperor of Heaven, but at such a young age, he has such powerful strength and foundation. Although the pursuer's inheritance is powerful, it can't reach such a level. Could it be that he's the reincarnation of another human expert? But that's impossible. Among the humans, the Emperor of Heaven is the strongest. If he's the reincarnation of Emperor Xia, it's impossible to hide from my eyes and ears. Moreover, Emperor Xia has completely fallen, and there's no chance for him to be reincarnated. Strange, strange. Even when facing Emperor Xiao Chengfeng could see some clues. The other party was a hero of the present age. He should be like that, like Qin Shujian. It did not make sense at all. But the problem was, if the other party was not the reincarnation of the Emperor of Heaven, then it was impossible for him to be the reincarnation of another ancient expert. Because the reincarnation of an expert, generally, they would only be reborn in the clan of their previous life. In this way, when awakening the innate wisdom, there would not be any conflict of memories inside the ancient expert. Other than the Emperor of Heaven, who had the means to hide from him, no other human expert could do this. Xiao Chengfeng was also confident. In the ancient times, he was the strongest human expert after the Emperor of Heaven. If it's not the ancient times, it can't be the ancient times. But it's hard to say. No, I have to enter the long river of time to take a look. Maybe I can find some clues. Thinking of this, Xiao Chengfeng immediately separated his divine consciousness and escaped into the long river of time. It was different from the rules of the Mother River. The long river of time was not something that anyone could enter. Only when one's strength reached a certain level and had a certain method could one enter the long river of time. Xiao Chengfeng was the immortal Lord Haozong in his previous life, which was why he could do this. A long gray river flowed. It pierced through heaven and earth. In the long river of time, every drop of water represented a time node, and there were countless images flashing. Xiao Chengfeng stepped on the long river of time and walked back step by step. He wanted to find the roots of Qin Shujian. So, he could only go back and look. The long river of time flowed quietly. Occasionally, there would be a small wave, but Xiao Chengfeng's expression was solemn. He had to step back, lest he be touched by the wave and be swept in. He was fully focused, watching the changes in the long river of time. Images after images. They kept flashing in front of his eyes. There was the time when he became the Marquis of Bayun, and also the battle when the human race opened up the eastern continent. Gradually, Xiao Chengfeng's expression became solemn. Until the end, he stopped in his tracks. In front of him was a drop of water jumping, and an image appeared inside. It was the Marquis of Bayun's residence in Zongyang City. Inside the main hall, Xiao Chengfeng saw himself sitting there. His gaze fell on the empty seat below, and he opened his mouth to say something. Occasionally, he nodded, as if he was approving. Beside him, there were two other people sitting there. One was Xiao Hong, and the other was Su Mingyang. Impossible. Xiao Chengfeng stared at the drop of water in front of him, and his expression was extremely ugly. At this moment, the long river of time suddenly surged with waves and directly swallowed him. In the outside world, Xiao Chengfeng spat out a mouthful of blood, and then his black hair turned white at a speed visible to the naked eye. However, a mysterious force emerged and dispelled all the white hair, and it returned to black. This repeated several times. In the end, his hair finally settled back to its original appearance, but there were a few strands of white mixed in. What a loss! Noticing the changes in his body, the Marquis of Bayun smiled bitterly. Just for a moment. His 1,000-year lifespan was gone just like that. Fortunately, he had a long lifespan. If it were someone else with a short lifespan, that wave just now would be enough to make him die on the spot. He waved his hand and wiped away the blood at the corner of his mouth. Xiao Chengfeng smiled bitterly. The long river of time is indeed not something that anyone can play with. If I accidentally encounter a wave, my 1,000-year lifespan will be gone. If I encounter a big wave, I might be completely dead this time after reincarnation. Compared to the laws of the mother stream, the long river of time was even more mysterious and terrifying. If he was at his peak, Xiao Chengfeng would naturally not be afraid of that small wave just now. But the problem was, he was not at his peak now, and he was only a 7th-level heaven human. After the bitter smile, Xiao Chengfeng recalled the scene he saw in the long river of time, and his face became solemn. If I remember correctly, the scene just now should be the scene where Marquis Qianshan rebelled, and I asked Su Mingyang to escort Emperor Qin to Qianshan Prefecture. However, there is no image of him in the long river of time. Even someone as powerful as the Emperor of Heaven can't get rid of the shackles of the long river of time, let alone erase all the images in the long river of time. Originally, he even suspected that Qin Shujian was the reincarnation of the Emperor of Heaven. But the scene in the long river of time just now directly overturned this conjecture. That's right. The Emperor of Heaven was very powerful. But no matter how powerful he was not powerful enough to play with the long river of time. In Xiao Qingfeng's opinion, to not be recorded by the long river of time, one must at least be in existence above the rules. Could it be that Emperor Qin is the reincarnation of an expert above the rules? No, this possibility is not big. If an existence above the rules has gotten rid of the shackles of the long river of time, he should have reached immortality. But if he is not the reincarnation of an existence above the rules, then he must have a very close relationship with an existence above the rules, so much so that there is a supreme existence to help him cover up the mysteries of the heavens. This is the only way to explain why he cannot be recorded by the long river of time, and why his cultivation realm can be so fast. Xiao Chengfeng felt that he had discovered a big secret. After a long time, he suppressed the conjecture in his mind. If it was related to an existence above the rules, it was not something that he could explore now. In fact, Xiao Chengfeng explored these things only because he was curious and wanted to confirm his conjecture. In the end, he did not find out anything, and instead lost 1,000 years of his life to enter. Thinking of this, Xiao Chengfeng shook his head and smiled bitterly. After all the time, my eyes were pecked. 1,000 years of life is a lesson. I can't be so reckless in the future. Then, he closed his eyes to rest. Just now, not only did he lose 1,000 years of life, but he also suffered a serious injury. To sum it up in one sentence, that was a huge loss. On the other side, after Qin Shujian left the Shao Mansion, he immediately left the eastern continent and headed to the human territory. When Xiao Chengfeng walked on the long river of time and tried to explore himself, he had a vague feeling in his heart. However, where did this feeling come from? But there was no way to find out. Who is plotting against me? That's impossible. Who can scheme against me now? Qin Shujian shook his head slightly. Soon, he put this matter to the back of his mind. The stronger one was, the more things one did not need to think about. If it was in the past, Qin Shujian would have to think carefully to find out who was plotting against him in the dark, and then think of a strategy to deal with it. But now, there was no need for that at all. In the 4 great continents, his strength was already at the top. Any calculation, none of them were of any use. What was useful was to fight with real swords and spears. Fight. Qin Shujian was the least afraid. If it weren't for the fact that he didn't want to arouse too much fear from the other races, he would have gone all out when the Demon Emperor ambushed the Golden Rock Emperor. He wanted to see if the Demon Emperor with the Heavenly Demon Temple could survive under the Godslayer. Not long after, Qin Shujian had already arrived in the East City. Right now, the East City was still empty. Other than Dan Hao and Huazhan, there was no third person inside. In the City Lord's mansion, Qin Shujian summoned the 2 of them. East City Lord, have the 10,000 races sent the corresponding materials over now? Reporting to the Qin Emperor, as early as half a month ago, the races sent the materials over one after another. Up until now, nearly 1,000 races have sent the materials to our human race. As for the remaining races, I think it will be soon. Huazhan cupped his hands and said, His main purpose in the East City was to be in charge of receiving the materials. After all, the resources sent by the 10,000 races this time were not small at all. In total, it was comparable to the resources of more than 10 small races. In view of this, Huajian did not dare to let his guard down. Hearing this, Qin Shujian nodded. Inform the remaining races as soon as possible to send all the materials over. When all the materials are in place, Ben Huang will start to refine the divine weapon that will carry the battlefield of the 10,000 races. Now, you should have a list on your side, right? I have already recorded all the races. All right, you can hand over the materials that have already arrived to Ben Huang. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.